This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to a podcast of rare antiquities, where we take a forgotten gem, pull it out of the rough, and see if it needs an extra polish. I am your host, Geoff.
And I am your co-host, Harry.
And today we're going to be running with the back half of Season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. Welcome back to the show, man. How's it going?
Surviving, barely. Aside from that, okay.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Missed the show. I was looking forward to it since the last time we recorded a few weeks back, but the day-to-day grind prevents that from happening, which sucks, but we made time today, so that's good.
Considering our recording schedule the past 6 months, downright ahead of schedule, so we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, we gotta make up for some lost time here.
That we do. All right. Well, why don't we dive in here? I mean, we're going to sort of skip, our usual format, which is doing plot recap and whatnot. We have about 6 episodes of Discovery to cover, so we'll do it more of in a broad sense like we did the first half of the season here. So, yeah, what were we left off in our last episode there after the episode Into the Forest I Go, where the Discovery was lost in space, as it were, where they weren't sure where they were, and I think we had some speculation at the end of that episode where they were going, what was happening, and the second half of the season was going to look like. So why don't we go back to that time during the break between the first half of the season and the second season, and what do you recall your thoughts were, what your anticipations were, what you wanted to see, and what your thoughts were at that time?
So what I thought was going to happen was going to be that they were going to jump into a mirror universe situation, which I guess ended up happening. I think that was if I recall, that was what we were anticipating at the end of that. And then, yeah, I think second half of this this season was just that, in the mirror universe. So I think we were all saying the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I believe that we had all thought the same thing there. And it had been leaked by Jonathan Frakes, who directed the first episode of the second half there, Despite Yourself, if I recall. And he had leaked earlier that they were going to the mirror universe. So I think we all knew that was where the show was headed. And then the speculation was, how long were they going to be there? Is Captain Lorca a native of the mirror universe, which obviously he turned out to be? And those were sort of the major speculative questions on how long they were going to spend there. I mean, they spent 4 episodes in the mirror universe, and that was a lot. I wasn't sure. I knew they were going to be there for 1 episode, and I figured it was probably going to be maybe 2 episodes, but I didn't anticipate 4 episodes in the mirror universe. What did you think?
Well, before I say anything else, I think the title of that episode that Frakes directed should be Go Fuck Yourself, not Despite Yourself, because he leaked that information. Now that you reminded me, that's why we were all anticipating it was going to be mirror universe centric.
Yeah.
Because he spoiled the show. Thanks a lot, Riker, for another goofball choice you made there.
Feels like it's so in character for him, though, doesn't it?
I mean, I know he gets excited about, I guess, those kind of things, but you gotta wait for the surprise for the audience, right? Because if he didn't say anything, I don't think we could have said a lot of other things. They could have just jumped into a different quadrant or something along those lines. Like, we probably would have speculated that it could be mirror universe, but you never know, right? But I think we all knew because of that spoiler. So yeah. I wasn't happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I think we probably would have speculated it might have been more of a time jump or something of that nature, but not. I mean, maybe, yeah, we might have thought the mirror universe, but I don't know that we would have known. So yeah, it is a shame that he spoiled the surprise for us. But why don't we dig into that episode a little bit there? Despite Riker, I thought Frakes put together a pretty good episode here. I thought it was very visually interesting. He's very dynamic with the camera. That's one of his calling cards. And I thought he did a pretty good job with this episode. So did you have any thoughts about Frakes' influence on this episode?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I agree. Like, the dynamic camera movements, what's not like fast moving and sweeping like modern filmmaking, which sucks today, but it is dynamic. I do remember one thing, though, with respect to his style, because we had taken a break for recording the show, so when I went back, I had to fucking subscribe to Crave TV, for fuck's sake, to rewatch these episodes, because I subscribed to Space of my network, and I couldn't watch it on demand. So I was like, great. So I had to do online Crave TV just to rewatch these things, which is okay now because I'm binge watching Seinfeld, so that's
Crave
a treat.
TV is much better value than Space, guaranteed.
Oh, yeah, but I already have space, so it doesn't matter.
That's fair.
So anyways, going back to the show, one thing I didn't like Frakes did is that cliche spin around the actors. It was Lorca talking to Burnham over a hologram, and they were talking about where they were. Maybe it was a map of the quadrant or something like that. And it kept spinning around them over and over again. And I hate that. Outside of that, I loved everything else. I think the production design was great. He really got tied in on the actors as well. And I really liked the beginning of that episode, first episode, because it was dealing with Burnham and her getting used to being in the mirror universe because she had to fake being mean and cruel. And and I really wish they lingered on that as a theme throughout these few episodes. They did it in this first episode, which was Frakes' episode, which was very good, because she's really doubting herself. She's losing herself, bits of herself every day she spends, because there's a bit of a lapse in time as she spends in the mirror universe there, because she has to obviously kill people, hurt people, act very cruelly to fake it. But the dynamic, like she's talking to herself, there's that narration for herself as she's getting a bath or just taking a break in that downtime. I love that. I loved that aspect of this episode. And then in addition, I loved the look. This was Frakes doing it or not. Maybe he put in his little 2 cents, but I love the agonizing booths. Man, because it has same visual sense that the original series had, except it was just a little bit more modernized with the visual effects. And I loved it. I loved all that aspect.
Yeah.
So great production design. I loved the uniforms. I loved the phasers. I loved the bridge. I loved the symbols. Didn't see a lot of goatees. I'm trying to remember. Did a lot of people have goatees? Or was it just Spock who had the goatee?
Yeah, well, Sarek has sports.
Sarek had the goatee.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That was a nice callback.
That was
like
a classic callback there. Yeah.
So all Vulcans have goatees.
Yeah, they're born with goatees in the mirror universe. Yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciated that. But that was in another episode. But this episode I liked mainly dealing with Burnham and her inner conflict of getting used to the brutality and losing herself. Like, not just herself, like the good in herself, but the Starfleet kind of moral code. So I appreciated that, but the problem was they teased it and then they let it go. And I wish they lingered on that a little bit more.
Lingered on letting go of the Starfleet code or trying to balance that being undercover as well?
I wouldn't just say balance, because I think what they were trying to do is they were saying she was not just trying to balance it to be undercover. She started that way, but because there's a bit of a time lapse between the first season finale and this episode, she's talking through narration that she's losing herself here. She's getting used to the violence. She's getting used to the brutality, and she's scared. Because she talks when she talks back to her crew, and what's that alien's name? God, I forget now.
Who, Saru?
Yeah, Saru. When she secretly contacts the real Discovery or the Prime Universe Discovery, she's saying she's losing herself. She needs to get out of here fast. Right. And she says the same thing to Lorca, who's tied up in the agonizing booth.
Yeah.
So when she gets alone time with him, she'll mention that to him, and he says, no, we got to stay here. But the problem is, I think this initiates a problem for the rest of the episodes when they're in the mirror universe, and also wrap up for this second half is there's a lot of tease. And then they drop the ball a lot. I don't want to say that because a global comment there.
Yeah, okay. Let's come back to some of the teases there, because I think we've got a whole category. So, I mean, for my part, yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. Production design was great. I love the uniforms and how everything looked. I particularly enjoyed Cadet Tilly's transformation into Captain Killy. I thought that was...
So, sorry, they called her... I was confused because I thought I was mishearing that. It was really called Captain Killy?
Yeah, they had... So
I thought it was still Tilly.
No.
I thought I heard it wrong.
Well, her name is Tilly, but so what they did in the episode there, because the first time I watched it, I wasn't sure, but when I went back and they were researching who the commander or the captain of Discovery was, right? Because they had to answer the hails, right? And it turned out to be Tilly, and they went through... She actually had a list of nicknames, and it was like, the butcher of the binary star. It wasn't the butcher of binaries, but you know, she had a bunch of nicknames that they were listing off. And the last one they listed off was Captain Killy. So people did call her that.
Okay, that's fine. Just want to say two things there, because I don't want to lose this point. I enjoyed her scene when she's first finding out that she's the captain and she's that cruel. And I don't mind, because all past Star Treks, people have to all of a sudden jump into a new role to fake who they are. We've seen other captains, other crews do that. No problem here. But I thought it was a little too easy for her, because they really teased it again. She was really uncomfortable, because that's not her true nature, the Prime Tilly, to do this. But then she got too comfortable too quick, and then lost that tease where she's losing her comfort. I thought it was like they gloss over that. Didn't like that.
I thought for her, because there's a scene later on, which we'll come back to in a later episode, where she falls into that, because she's so socially awkward. It felt like to me that she took a great deal of comfort in just pretending to be something completely other than herself. And it wasn't so much that it was this, evil version of herself, somebody that was cruel, somebody that was violent, but just that she didn't have to worry about being her. She could just pretend so she could act as this other thing, and that made it almost easier for her to interact because she wasn't herself, which she's not very confident in. So, maybe I'm reaching a little bit here, but that's how I interpreted it. And I just really Tilly, man. She's so good. She's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed her much more in this second half than I did in the first half. So she warmed up to me a little bit more. But I do want to say one other thing now. Even it's a bit of a segue because you mentioned the Battle of the Binary Stars. Holy fuck, man. I am sick of, especially, I don't want to rap on Burnham more, but I hate when she or others keep referring to, remember that time in the Battle of the Binary Stars?
Yeah.
It is so fucking odd. Because I know people refer to, say, when the Borg attacked, it's Wolf 359, right? That sounds a little bit more natural. But here it's like the Battle of the Binary Stars. It's not like a location. Wolf 359 was a sector or a coordinate.
Yeah.
Here, she or other people in these last few episodes, and even I think in the first half of the season, keep saying the Battle of the Binary Stars. Absolutely detest that.
Yeah.
Fucking drop that shit. Holy crap, it's annoying. Hate it.
I agree. I think you might have a pretty visceral reaction there, but I could see how in the real world, like history might refer to it as that. Like in 30 years, like you might hear Captain Kirk reference the Battle of the Binary Stars because it would have sort of this legendary status to it. But yeah, they would call it Wolf 359 or whatever that system was. That's what they would call it.
Or the Klingon encounter or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah. What system were they in?
It doesn't matter. They can make anything up.
But they could make it up, but that's what they would call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what you would, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying it's a minor grievance, but man, is it grating. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. Terrible.
I think fanboys around the world are rejoicing at your annoyance, your vehemence. But
it's
a mouthful.
It's a mouthful, but it just doesn't sound natural.
It does not. And they're blending that sort of mythic quality to that battle, and it's too soon in their timeline to be doing it. And it also just doesn't, it does sound funny.
Yeah, I just wanted to state that. It has no bearing or importance to anything or the quality of any of these episodes, but it's just, holy fuck, I can't stand it when people talk about that.
No, I agree. It doesn't have any bearing on the quality or the plot, and naturally we spend 4 minutes talking about it. So that's just what Star Trek fans do, man. That's what we do. We're detail-oriented. That's how we roll.
Yes.
That's how we go. Yeah, so let's move forward a little bit here. So we covered that episode, where they discover that they're in the mirror universe. Obviously, we know where they are. They don't know where they are, and they have to figure out their way here. So let's move to the next episode, which is called The Wolf Inside. And this is where the crew discovers a group of rebels. And what they're thinking here is that this group of rebels is sort of analogous to the Federation, that it's a group of different worlds, different species that have banded together. And in this case, it's to fight the Terran Empire because the Terrans are a xenophobic species. They do not like outsiders. We get to meet Mirror Universe Sarek with his goatee. And we also get to meet Mirror Universe Vok. And some of the Ash Tyler stuff starts to come out here. So let's talk a little bit about Tyler. I know we had speculated a bit before we knew some of what was going on with Tyler in the first half of the season. We get the rest of the answers here. So
what's the answer? Because it still is a bit, I wouldn't say, it's not clear. Because I think in some episodes, I think I remember my guess is it was the classic, it's Vok, and they surgically altered him to look human. Then I know they said it's just the Katra. One of us talked about the Katra, and they said his consciousness kind of was grafted onto Tyler's brain, and there was nothing else going on. But then there's another part where they talk about it again, where some of the Klingon organs were put into Tyler's body. And then I was listening to some other podcasts after the fact, and they're saying, no, it's Vok, and they put they really screwed up both people, and it's really Vok, and Tyler's consciousness is in there. Mm-hmm. Which one is it?
Okay, so
It's really messed up. It's really messed up.
It is messed up, and I'm not sure why they weren't clearer on it. Perhaps the reason they weren't clearer on it is because they wanted to avoid some exposition, or maybe wanted to leave certain threads open for later. But it is Vok's body, because he talks about how they opened up his bones, they shaved down his fingers, they cut down his spinal cord and his thigh bones and all that stuff. So the shell is Vok, and they opened him up. And whether they put physical pieces of Tyler into him isn't clear, but I don't believe that's the case. They just altered all of his organs to look human. Because, Klingons got, redundant systems, and they got all his bones and all this stuff. So they shaved everything down to make him look human, and they grafted the personalities together. But it's Vok's body, so obviously they grafted Tyler's...
I was right then, so that was my choice. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what we knew before, but I think that's what I had... maybe I was the one who said the Katra thing, but they did do something with the consciousness, or what they could... They either took the real Ash Tyler's consciousness, or they took what they knew of him and constructed a new Ash Tyler and grafted him over top of Vok. But it is Vok's body, and it's just Tyler imprinted onto him, right? And how they made the DNA and all that stuff work, and fingerprints, I don't know. I mean, they must have...
Well, that's the Star Trek magic. We can let that slide.
Yes.
Because other people have gotten, other characters in the classic shows, previous shows have gotten away with very similar stuff, right?
Well, there was that Klingon spy in the original series episode with the Tribbles, right?
And then Kirk being a Romulan, and then Sisko and O'Brien becoming Klingons and all that stuff. I know. The question I have here is for you, was this Tyler story satisfying to you?
I don't know that I could say it's satisfying, but that being said, I don't think it's over. Was it satisfying? I thought it was quite compelling. Just today I was watching the last couple episodes there when L'Rell sort of expunges Vok's consciousness, I don't know, to Sto-vo-kor or wherever, and perform surgery to fix him up so that he can function as a person. I really did a lot of what they did there. Yeah, I'm going to say, just to answer your question quickly, and we can dive into it, yes, I did find it satisfying.
I hated it. Yeah. All of it. It was promising, but again, it's a huge tease, and this is my problem. So the whole point of this whole sacrifice for Vok was to infiltrate Starfleet to do what exactly? Nothing. It went nowhere. And then, what's her name? L'Rell?
Yeah.
And then they wrapped it up very quickly within a few seconds. Okay, you've captured me. I see he's in pain. You're right. Let me just release him, and now you have Tyler. Really stupid, man. I'm sorry. I cannot abide.
Why?
I thought it was wrapped. No, but it's not a well thought out story. It felt like it was going to go somewhere, and the writers did a 180 and said, this isn't working, let's finish the story and wrap it up. Now, I don't mind the conflict and the acting of the guy who's playing Tyler. Thought he did a good job. And then the relationship between him and Burnham, that's fine. I like those interactions. But the main story of Vok sacrificing himself, this Klingon thing, this whole Klingon storyline, man, is garbage this season. It started really promising, and it ended with a whimper. It really felt to me like they're just trying to wash their hands out of something that maybe Fuller started. It was his idea. They went with it at first, and then new showrunners came in or new writers came in, and they had meetings or whatever behind the scenes. And they're saying, no, we don't want to progress this way, but we've got to set up, we got to finish this year. Let's just do this Klingon thing, finish it very fast. Next year is going to be different. And we're going to talk about what's coming next year. So I really don't know if all this Klingon stuff is really going to be impacting next year. We can talk about maybe I could come back in future seasons. To me, it felt like this thing was finished after this year.
Yeah, I think the Klingon stuff is over.
And that's even worse then, because then this went nowhere. This whole Vok thing went nowhere. This whole Klingon conflict went nowhere. I know we want to go take things in little baby steps here on the podcast. I just wanted to say that, though. I was not a fan of these storylines.
I think the Klingon stuff is probably done. I don't know that we're going to revisit a lot of it. And I'll agree with parts of what you're saying. What's that?
You are being too kind. It is terrible.
Well, let's just back up a little.
It doesn't mean that everything in the second half was terrible, because I liked other things, which we'll talk about, but this Klingon stuff and the Tyler stuff, I did not.
All right, let's break a couple things off here. So let's talk about the Klingon stuff later, like the war later, because we got to, obviously, there's a resolution to that, and we're still in the mirror universe here. But let's talk about Tyler first. So where I'll disagree with you there is, yeah, they could have done, you're right, they set up a lot here with him being the sleeper agent, and they resolved it in a different way than I would have expected. It did seem a little quick.
They subverted your expectations, a la Ryan Johnson. So those who enjoy the subversion can like it. I could tell them to go fuck themselves. Not you, but the creators. Because it still went nowhere.
But you're going black and white, where it's either I love it or I want to shoot you. Shit on my stuff, and I don't, and I hate your guts, you goddamn motherfucker.
But I have no attachment to these characters, so
it's fine. No, it's
I'm just saying, from a story perspective, it went nowhere. But you finished. Sorry.
No, but here's the thing, dude. It's not like you're treading any new territory territory. You're not forging new ground by having sleeper agent infiltrating the Federation doing whatever it is the sleeper agent's going to do in this case. So in that sense, to abandon that is just to abandon the stuff that is normal. That's just normal story stuff, normal plot stuff. And sure, that might have been, from a plot perspective, fine. It might have been very satisfying. I don't know if they had kept going with it, it would have been fine. I've seen that. Have you ever watched Homeland? That's all of Homeland. And it gets so fucking tired after a while. It's the sleeper agent. But maybe he's conflicted. What's he going to do? He's going to do this? He's going to do that? Which side is he loyal to? Like, it's so boring. It's been done.
Okay,
it's been done, fine, dude.
And so I'm with you, but then it's still fully dropped. What's his sacrifice?
It's not. Here, it doesn't matter.
Sacrifice?
It doesn't matter what a sacrifice is. It doesn't matter what a sacrifice is. Maybe it'll matter later.
But they set that up at the season. It was a big thing.
But it doesn't matter. What matters is, here's where the story comes in. Because we're watching Star Trek. We're not watching Homeland. We're not watching The Americans. We're not watching this spy intrigue and all of that stuff. That stuff is for lesser television, for normal people. Here's what Star Trek does instead, is it takes character done something that most of us would find abhorrent. What was done to him was abhorrent, and we would agree with that. And then he did some really bad things. Killed the doctor. He tried to kill Burnham. He was ready to betray everybody because that's what he was, the Klingon sleeper agent. And yeah, I mean, I'll agree, like the motivation for L'Rell to fix him so that he was just Tyler and all that was not handled all that well. That didn't really play all that well. But what happens is he becomes whatever this new creature is. He's sort of Tyler. He still has Vox memories, but his actions going forward seem to be mostly Tyler. And he's wronged everybody, right? So then what do we see from there? The first thing that we see from there is Saru saying, yeah, you did these things. I'm not going to rob you of your freedom. That wasn't you. He goes to
and I like that. That's Starfleet. And I like
exactly. That was Starfleet. And that's why
the crew also forgave him, at least most of the crew, and even Stamets was standoffish at first. I don't think they had many scenes, but he didn't go crazy on him. I think he said you just have to live with it or something like that.
He said maybe you're human after all.
And I like that. That's a good message. I love that. And I know what you're saying. That's why we love Star Trek. And I'm with you 100%.
But that's what it's all about. That's also all the other stuff. I know. Fucking matter. That's the Star Trek stuff. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
That is the good stuff.
That's the good stuff. That's what we need. We have the other stuff, dude.
In 20 minutes.
Dude, like it's a 13 episode season, and like they act like they just have to make it. It's got to work, man. They drew it out for the whole season. This was the payoff. Was it quick? Yeah, it was quick. But to be honest with you, I find that a lot of modern TV, they draw this stuff out way too much. If the story is played through, it's done, then end it. And it was probably the best example. People argue about Discovery, about, it's not really Star Trek. It's not really Star Trek. They don't do all the heady moral stuff. This is Star Trek. This is as Star Trek as it fucking gets. And that's why it was so good. Yeah, the setup, it was a lot of setup for this payoff, which might not have been as much payoff as you'd expect, but I don't think we've seen the whole business yet, to be honest. He was in the mess hall there until he went over to sit with him. I mean, I got it in the feels on that moment there, man. I thought that was great. That was worth it for me.
I wouldn't say feels. I mean, I had a smile on my face nodding, saying, yeah, that's Starfleet.
Well, I mean, you have to be an android to have feelings.
No,
I mean, we'll install your emotion chip one of these days, too. But I don't think you're ready.
But we have seen other Star Trek shows, other characters go through betrayals, betraying their crew, doing other things, and they're very similar scenes. Guys sitting down with them or just saying, it'll take time, and that's the end of the episode, and it's forgiven, right? And let go. So this is also not something new for Star Trek as well, in my opinion.
No, it's right. It's not.
We are playing a very similar beat that we have to other Star Trek episodes and arcs with other characters. Now, because this is a continuing storyline and other stuff is like standalone episodes, especially TNG in the original series, but we've seen stuff in DS9 where characters betray other characters temporarily just because they're doing the right thing. They have to live up to the captain's scorn. Cisco or Picard will scorn them, yell at them, but then they'll sit them down and say, I understand what you had to go through, yada, it'll be okay. I still support you, I still got your back. And then other crew members, that's what Guinan was doing. A very good example was Guinan with Ro. This was a conflicted character.
Yeah, I was going to say there's some Ensign Ro going on here,
Yeah, so she couldn't fit in anywhere because some injustice was done to her, that she went out of her way to become the outcast on purpose, and then Guinan called her on that. And then that kind of stuff I like. Here, this thing's, because that took its time to feel that out. And that was even one episode. That was
one episode.
I know, but they did.
This was one episode.
Exactly, but they did that better than what they did here with Tyler.
Well, that was TNG. You can't compare.
Oh, no, you can, man. Come on. TNG is also a little dated. I love TNG, but it's a little dated.
It's a little dated, but in that episode in particular, pretty.
It is. But I just felt that the writing on that was better because I liked how they caught Ensign Ro into her. Whoopi called her out on her bullshit that you're doing this to yourself on purpose because you like it. You like being this kind of outcast.
Well, and she did, but that's a totally different situation.
What I'm saying is right, but that character development in that arc in that one episode was written better than what I saw with Tyler in the second half of the series.
Well, sure.
With the exception of love the scenes between Tyler and Burnham. That was good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. They did a good
those
job.
Scenes were good.
But that's what I'm saying is that this is a very character-focused type of show. Timelines it's different. Payoffs. It's not an episode of TNG where like you have 42, 43 minutes to get all of your plot and all of your character work done in one script, one setting. So on the one hand, like that forces your writing really tight. And that was one great thing about TNG is it was really tight with the writing. And some of TNG can be dated, but the writing holds up.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't, but there are some
totally different approach. It's a totally different approach, though, right? I hear what you're saying, but I don't think Tyler's storyline is finished. And, I mean, they brought it to sort of a soft conclusion here to give us a landing point for that character within this season with openings for him to be brought back later, which I'm sure we'll see him again at some point, right? But they did, I would say that the thrust of the season, they opened a lot of threads. And because of the change in showrunner and probably overall philosophy of the show, they had to tie stuff up more quickly than they might have otherwise wanted to do. Like, I would agree with you there. Like, with Brian Fuller being ousted and bringing in new showrunners and the whole thing, like, things went in a different direction than it would have originally. But when they tied up those threads, they did it in the Star Trekiest way that they could.
For better or worse.
Well, no, for better or worse, but like, if you're going to tie it up for better or worse, like, at least be Star Trek about it, which they were.
I'm not going to argue with you on that aspect, but you want to be different now with Star Trek. It needs to be a bit different. I'm expecting better writing. Now, what happened to me was very clear, and we haven't talked about we haven't gotten into the Mirror Universe stuff. The focus of these last few episodes of the second half was completely Mirror Universe. Everything else took a backseat. Yeah. And even the last episode or episode and a half when it wasn't dealing with the Mirror Universe, which to me was a shock. When we could talk about, wow, Jason Isaacs gone before the season finale. That wrapped up really fast. To me, I was a little shocked by that, which was okay. It's different. I was thinking that would end in the finale, and then instead we went back to Prime Universe, and then now we got like the Klingon War to deal with, and that wrapped up very fast. So it was very jarring to me. I'm just really jarred by the second half, and I liked a lot of it. It's just really jarring. I don't know.
Yeah. I actually agree completely with that. It was very jarring. And if we're dealing with the Klingon War, first half of the season, fine. And then we totally switch gears to the Mirror Universe, which is jarring. And an episode or two in the Mirror Universe probably would have fit fine. And then they don't. They spend 4 fucking episodes there. And then they switch gears again to go back to Prime Universe to deal with the Klingon War and then wrap it up. And
now, how much?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to me, how much more better would it have been between you and me? Now, I know I may be taking away maybe you wanted to announce it, talking about how the season finished. I won't mention what we saw. I'll leave that to you to bring it up. But imagine they finish the episode, that final episode where they come back, they do the whole second half in the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
They still got the Klingon War to deal with next year, but then they bump into you know what.
Yeah.
How much better that would have been. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, I think
that would have been better.
Felt like emotionally that would have been great. And
oh man, because you're fucked. Like the fleet is fucked. Everything is fucked. Your backs are against the wall. Guess what you bump into right when you need her.
Yeah, I think from an emotional perspective, that would have been one hell of a reveal. I think that would have been great. I agree, and it's a shame because I really liked what they did with the Mirror Universe here. I think those 4 episodes were good episodes.
So let's talk about the Mirror Universe now. Let's get into the nitty-gritty there.
All right.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We're only 39 minutes in, man, so we got all the fucking time in the world.
No, I'm game. Let's go as long as we want.
I've got 2/3 of a bottle of whiskey in front of me. I am ready to fucking do this.
Okay. So what do you think?
So you were saying what exactly?
How can you be deaf with ears like that? Genesis?
Give me Genesis!
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a great villain. I like Christopher Lloyd as that villain.
Oh, he was so good as that guy. What was that character's name?
Scrooge.
Oh, Scrooge. Oh, fuck, he was so good.
Yeah, he was
so
great.
good.
Hammed it up with Shatner.
Get out of there! Get out!
Computer seems to be talking, sir. Fine, I'll kill you later.
Oh, man. That's a really good movie, actually. It's so underrated. I mean, it's not great, but it's so good.
Oh, I love it. It's great. Anyone who hates on Search for Spock, well, we might be getting a Search for Spock 2 in Discovery Season 2, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But no, we're talking about the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
So why don't you start off? What'd you think?
Well, I mean, specifically, what did I think about what? Overall or what?
Well, just the story itself, how they wrapped up with Lorca.
Okay.
Meeting the Emperor, which I will say is my favorite part of the second half of the show.
The Emperor?
Yes. I mean, I wish it was Palpatine, but it's not Palpatine.
Yeah, Georgie was...
Yeah.
Good choice, yeah. She was really good, I thought.
I tell you right now, she is the highlight of season 1, is Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, she was terrific.
Of all of it, when she was in the pilot and in the second half. She stole every scene whenever she was there.
Oh, she totally did. I didn't know Michelle Yeoh could choose scenery like she did. Man, was she good. Oh, she was terrific. I mean, you're right. She stole every scene she was in. Obviously, in the pilot episodes, she was so good. But I loved her in the last couple episodes when Starfleet kind of recruited her to be... she was terrific.
Oh, man. Again, best part of Discovery. And it sucks because it takes away from your leads. Your regular cast, but oh man, it's so good.
But the thing is, it's good to have excellent guest stars. I mean, you could say that John Delancey stole every scene he was in, too, right? I mean, I know it's a different thing, but you know what I mean? That was a good thing because it really spiced up the status quo, right?
So imagine Michelle Yeoh playing off of Patrick Stewart in this, or even the Shat. I mean, I'd pay to see that too, but just imagine that.
Oh, could you imagine? That'd be so good.
My God.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I mean, now we're not even talking about Jason Isaacs, who still did a very good job.
Oh, man.
He was great.
He was excellent. Yeah. It's a shame that character's gone, but...
Well, we all called it, right?
We did
essentially. Like I was saying in that, I believe I was saying in the first podcast, do we really expect Jason Isaacs to stick around?
Right.
And he's too busy of an actor doing other projects to stay. I remember Andrew, it's like, we were all fearful, especially me and Andrew, I believe, saying, we don't want him to be bad, but he's going to be bad. We just feel it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but
he's bad.
It was so good that he was bad, though. You know what I mean? Like, it just, it was so good. And he was so good.
Right. It's so good. But here's another problem. This whole plan doesn't make any sense. Him wanting to get back makes complete sense. To get revenge on Georgiou.
Right.
He's got other crew there. He wants to get going. He wants Burnham. So now we understand maybe he lost his Mirror Universe Burnham. He was hoping to turn her once he realized. So there's that agency in the plot that kind of explains things, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, what the fuck was he doing on Discovery as the captain? Sitting there in the Prime Universe. Yeah, like what's he doing? Well, I don't understand. What's the plan? Because he's hoping this spore thing works? He didn't know that was going to happen. That was his original plan when he got on board.
I think that for whatever reason, he caught wind of that technology or whatever, but when he knew about that technology, he was like, this might be able to get right because it can transport from here to here like this. So somehow he insinuated himself into control of that technology, but that kind of made sense. There was no other way to get home. Like, he didn't know how else to get home, right? So
maybe he knew maybe it wasn't just Burnham. Burnham was a lucky happenstance. Maybe he was trying to attach himself to Stamets because he knew Stamets was brilliant in his universe. Could be.
Well, I got the impression that Stamets was in control of the spore technology in the Mirror Universe, which he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
As Prime Universe Discovery crew found out that there were similarities between their counterparts. Lorca would have discovered the same thing when he came to Prime Universe. There are parallels, right? So let's check out this Stamets guy. He was in charge. Like, that would make sense to me. That was where I would go if I was him. Well, he was in charge of the spore technology back home. Let's check out this situation, right? Burnham was not a lucky happenstance. He targeted.
Oh, yes.
He learned about her and targeted her, right?
Yes. So that makes that plot point better.
Yeah.
That reinforces that, which I liked. And I like that. I like that kind of, you can be with me. It's the Palpatine Anakin thing or the Luke Vader thing. He's trying to lure her saying, this is you. You can be like this.
Right.
And we are better because we are that brilliant and all that stuff. And then she didn't side with him, which is what our heroes do, but she still had that conflict, which I liked. And I like that one scene right in that episode where she's talking to him before he dies, saying, hey, we would have helped you.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's Starfleet too. That's great. I love that scene. Saying, we would have just fucking helped you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you were.
Like,
we would have helped.
Yeah.
So I love that because that I was like, yeah, that's Star Trek. We would have just fucking helped you.
Yeah.
These kind of aspects on what you're talking about, like what is Star Trek and morality plays and these kind of things, I love that. And those aspects of Burnham I enjoyed in the second half of the show.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed that one scene there. It was like, we should have asked, which is to help you. Like,
he gets stabbed and impaled.
Yeah. Right before his heart gets penetrated by a 6-inch samurai sword.
CGI samurai sword.
Yeah.
That effect did not look good.
Yeah, it was a little, I mean, hey, there's a budget. So
yeah, there's a budget. It's hard to do. That's not an easy.
That's a tough effect. And I guess it was a good, I got a couple things I got to say here. I got to keep it straight. So there was a lot in the Mirror Universe, and the resolution to the conflict that's building over these 4 episodes is a very action-adventure-y type of conflict. It's a physical conflict, right? Where they punch and shoot and swoop their way to victory. They tech the tech to blow up the thing, to do thing with the wormhole to get home. I mean, obviously those have places in Star Trek because it's science fiction, so it's unavoidable. I'm disappointed with the physical resolution of those conflicts because it should be intellectual, it should be ethical. And that was the only real insertion of Star Trek into the Mirror Universe episodes was, dude, would have just helped you if you just asked us, man. But that also, I think, highlights a great piece of discovery that we haven't really seen since DS9, which is the Star Trekkiness of it is infused into the small character moments, the small character actions, as opposed to the larger plot moments. So if you go back to the original series, you go back to TNG, I mean, although the characters themselves behave in the Starfleet manner, most of the moral messages are contained in the larger plot. This is the alien civilization we see that's parallel to our kind in the 21st centuries, right? Whereas in DS9, and it's where DS9 really pioneered. I mean, Next Gen needled at it a little bit. They really teased it out in DS9, and they really went back to that in Discovery, which is all the larger, the grander stuff is great and fine, but the Star Trek, the true stuff is in the characters themselves. Small stuff, the small choices, the individual attitudes. That's why I like the Tyler stuff, even though, like, from a plot perspective, yeah, you could say it's cut short, but, like, the small stuff, the characters, the people in this universe. And I think that's more relevant for our times now. It's who are you going to be, you personally, not who's mankind going to be, not who's planet Earth going to be, who's Starfleet going to be, who's the Federation going to be. It's who are you going to be personally as a man or woman or whatever else you want to define yourself. Who are you as a person? And that moment there where she's like, just what a fucking help you would ask us. It's a small piece, but I think that's where the show really excelled, is those small character points, the characters themselves at small levels. I'm going to go sit with Tyler. I'm going to forgive this person. Like, that's so Star Trek on such a personal level. And, like, for the faults of the story and some of the plots and some of the threads that don't get tied up, like, that's where the success really is here, is like those moments fucking hit. And I thought that was great.
I agree on the small moments, but I still need a good structured story. But we talked about that already. I guess I want to ask you now, talking about the Mirror Universe, let's talk about it as a broad level here. What did you think of everything that was happening in the Mirror Universe, like the gruesomeness, the brutality? We saw some new weaponry, remember, because they have Lorca tied up in the agonizing booth. So in one episode, we have a guy who said, you've raped and killed my sister. What's her name? Say her name, and then I'll put you out of your misery, or I won't kill this guy you know. And then they vaporize him in a very cruel manner and stuff like that. And you see all of this stuff that's happening as very visceral. It's a little bit more, I wouldn't say graphic, but a bit more edgy graphic than what we normally see on Star Trek. And they were pushing the envelope a little bit more that way because we're not on cable TV. You're on all access here. So what did you think of that kind of stuff? What did you think of the action as well? Like the whole resolution, the action, the revelation of Georgiou as the Emperor, and then the relationship between this Emperor and Burnham. What did you think of these kind of things?
Yeah, well, to speak to the action, I thought the action played well. I thought those scenes were edited and choreographed well. Like, I thought it played fine. How visceral it was, I thought fit. It worked for the episodes. Like, I thought it was good. It felt there was a real present threat to our protagonists there. I mean, they come out of it, but It felt very present. It was good. Maybe this isn't the right time to rag on it. It did feel somewhat inconsistent with what we saw from the original series, the Mirror episode. But, I think we're past continuity with the original series. This actually felt a lot more brutal than the Mirror Universe there. But it's been a while since I've seen that episode, so maybe...
No, the Mirror Universe episode in the original series was just as brutal, but filmed in a different way.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't as gruesome in terms of what you were seeing. You got the agonizing booths, you got the assassination attempts, or at least the discussion about the assassination attempts and things like that. And of course, Shatner's going to put away with anyone who's going to try and assassinate him. So very easily with the ear slap or whatever, which is
ear slap or a double-handed Rogelian hammer to the fucking back of the neck there.
Oh man,
jump kicks.
Shatner versus Isaacs. Oh, I would have loved that.
Epic battle. I mean, we know who's coming out on top, but that is good battle.
Yes.
Probably chopped to the traps.
Oh, yeah. Everything. There's a great YouTube video of all of Captain Kirk's moves, like the bowling ball, the wall leg kick where it's failed attempt,
yes.
And the ear slap and all those things and the karate chop and... It's just great. It's great.
I'm going to look that up. The ear slap's actually a really effective move. You get ear slapped, you're going to the ground. It's going to happen, man.
It's not just one. It's a double ear slap.
Yeah, the double ear slap, your equilibrium's all off. You're going down.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. But going back, the original series played it dark. DS9 played it with a bit more fun on the Mirror Universe stuff.
Yeah.
They knew it was dark, but because the rest of the series was dark with the Dominion War, so the Mirror Universe was fun action kind of stuff, which I enjoyed still, because it brought a different tone than what we were normally seeing with the Dominion War. But here they brought it back to that gruesome reality of what it was. And I appreciated that. But I liked the action too. I thought it was good. I think in that final episode where Lorca dies and there's that all-out kind of war on the ship. By the way, what a interesting ship that was. The Emperor ship. It was almost like a city or inside.
Yeah.
It's like a palace ship.
The palace ship.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That was really good. But I felt some of those action set pieces were very TV, very quick. Didn't have a lot of time to choreograph it right. The only person who was really choreographing themselves was Michelle Yeoh. She knew what she was doing. Oh man, her moves were amazing.
Yeah, she's got some moves.
She's amazing.
She is
Holy fuck.
Yeah, she's
great. Newfound respect for Michelle Yeoh.
I've always liked her, but I agree. I'm at a new level after her performance in this series.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just the action. It's just her all over.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, what else? What'd you think about then Lorca and Burnham and then wrap up of Lorca's storyline there? Mirror Lorca.
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, Jason Isaacs did a great job. The performance here, it was good. I liked it because it felt... We got invested in Lorca. I mean, he came across as a bit of a dick, but there was some mystery. There's some intrigue to their relationship, right? He obviously had this interest in her, all these episodes, and then we find out why. And I thought it was really good, man. I mean, what was your impression of this when the Emperor tells when the Emperor tells Burnham about Lorca's relationship with the Mirror Universe? I thought there was sort of a sexual component there.
Oh, yeah. There was a hint of sexual component,
So, which was just creepy and wrong, which worked so perfectly for that character.
It works for the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God, gross. What a villain. Like, it totally fit. So, the reckoning came for him, and there was perhaps a lack of weight for Burnham because she never really gave a fuck about this dude. He rescued her from captivity, but she was always suspicious of him. She never was loyal or had any feelings for this guy other than this dude's the captain of the ship that I'm serving on. She didn't give a fuck about him. So I'm not going to say it was a missed opportunity, but it was an asymmetrical relationship. She didn't feel for him what he felt for her, which is fine. But there wasn't a whole lot of weight. I would have believed that she would have just killed that fucker if it was necessary.
And I agree.
She wouldn't have felt anything about it. She would just cook that fool and be like, boom, see ya.
Agree. And I'll say it's missed opportunity. And this is where you want to cast Jason Isaacs. You want to have a great actor present for a show like this to draw in viewers and elevate the acting prowess of the show. But if you have someone who's semi-good, a very still well-respected actor who could stick around for a couple of seasons and develop that relationship a little bit more, then you go across a different storyline, then you end up in this spot, and it's more of a slow burn and a build. I know you were saying before you don't want a modern TV takes these stories and they draw it out too much, and you prefer it's fresh for you to see these kind of quick resolutions again. But the impact here is that I agree with you. I feel that kind of, I wouldn't say I don't need that shock factor, but now the relationship between Burnham and Lorca isn't as strong and the emotional weight is not there. It's all inferred. So because of his relationship with Mirror Burnham.
Right. And it might have worked. Well, I guess there's different things you could have done with it. And I mean, this is a tough one because he's not Starfleet. He doesn't hold the ideals that Prime Universe Starfleet holds, right? So he's there pretending. And I think that only really works if he is the type of character that we see. As that character, he can hone himself down a little bit to, at worst, he's sort of no-nonsense captain of a starship in a war, and that's like the most palatable he can make himself because it's disgusting for him how, for lack of a better term, liberal everybody is, right? And in order for Lorca to have a relationship with Burnham, because she's all Starfleet, even though she betrayed her captain, she's all Starfleet, so I don't know what ground, if you wanted to play it out more so that it would have had more emotional impact for her, I don't know what ground we could have found between the two that would have been believable for that to have occurred later on. You could have done it is if she had a prior attachment to Prime Lord, which she didn't. And then, because then everything's just, the galaxy's too small, as you've referenced in Star Wars before. It's like the galaxy's so small. So, I don't know, I guess there's different trade-offs you got to make everything sort of fit together, if that makes sense, right? So, generally, it worked for me that he was who he was and couldn't change it, and she was who she is and couldn't change that. And he thought he could bring her to his side. He, turn to the dark side, to use the parlance of another franchise. And she's just like, that's not who we are, dude. And it's just, she said to him, like, this is not who we are. Like, when she said we would have to tell me who we are. She could never be turned because she's so Starfleet. And I think that's, there's a missed opportunity on the other side that wasn't have the emotional weight of her, but on the other hand, it's just like, there was never going to be that way because, dude, that's not who we are.
No, I agree. I'm just talking about from a TV show dramatic standpoint, which you can argue is cliche because every show does it. They build these characters that are all good, and then you have a dramatic turn a few seasons in, and now you have strife and conflict and a betrayal, and that's your kind of dramatic tension that you have here. Yeah. And now, every other dramatic show will do that. So, but the problem is that these scenes between Lorca and Burnham, these last couple episodes, do suffer when she realizes he's who he is. He's the mirror guy and he's evil. That's just the only drawback. It's cliche, but I agree with you. It just felt the best part was, well, we would have helped you, but fuck you. Now you got impaled, so bye.
Oh yeah, she's got no bones about not being on his side. No,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no issue from Burnham's side. It just feels like it's a missed opportunity between developing something more interesting and having more emotional weight between Lorca and Burnham.
But if you had done that, wouldn't you lose the impact of what did actually happen though, which is
no, it would have been more sad. No, but
she's never going to connect with, and he's never going to connect with her. That's not who he is.
Right, but that's the way this character was developed. Because we as the audience and Burnham too already had suspicions about the character, his immoral ground.
Yeah.
If that's slow burn and he's good but very small or subtle hints of evilness or weirdness throughout maybe 1 or 2 seasons, then this happens, then you have something more interesting there. You can't do that with Jason Isaacs. You can't do that if you want to wrap up a storyline in 1 season.
Yeah, but
you want to do something brand new.
I don't know, man. I mean, that kind of burn. The thing is there, though. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't think you can light that fuse over 2-3 seasons because then we forget about the mechanics of having Jason Isaacs on your show for more than a year. Let's say he would have done it. Let's say he would have done 7 years. If you're going to do this with him, and you get to season 2, let's say 2 or 3, as you're saying, and then you pull this, then the show's betraying us, you and me. Like,
hold on, but isn't that then different than every other Star Trek show?
Well, of course it's different than every other Star Trek show.
No, but then that would mean
good. Like, then you're...
No, but it depends how it's written. It completely depends how it's written. You know what I mean? But that's why I feel like this... See, the thing is, with this mirror universe stuff, I just have this character who's Lorca, who just now wants to go rule. He just wants to be plain old bad. And that's not interesting. So that's why I was hoping for something more. Maybe this would have been more interesting storyline. Here's a guy who started in the mirror universe, went to the Prime universe by accident or whatever means, wants to get back to do all these evil deeds, but over time starts to then change. Starfleet's affecting him for the better. Then he has that conflict.
That might be Georgia's storyline, though, now.
Could be, and that'll be fucking awesome if that's the case. But the problem is now you already get the sense that, because we haven't talked about the last 2 early episodes, how they wrapped up, but to me that's already done. Done, solved that issue. Because now she made a choice. Okay, you're right. I won't blow up the Klingon homeworld. Here you go, Michael. And I'll leave now. Bye.
I don't know.
Sure, she can come back in these guest roles like Harry Mudd. I don't think it's going to be anything interesting after that.
I don't know. Okay, so let's start there, but let's put a pin in the mirror. Well, we don't need to put a pin in the mirror universe because this is all pretty flowing here. So before we jump to that part, is there anything else to be said about alliance of the non-human species against the Terran Empire, the rebellion?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, they're definitely making a statement that, as you mentioned in what you had described, it's like a semi-Starfleet that's forming there. United Federation of Planets, starting in a small group, what the rebellion was in Star Wars. You have a bunch of planets and a bunch of species who are impacted negatively and harassed and tormented by this, what is it called? The Terran Empire?
Yeah.
Terran Empire? Yeah, Terran Empire. So, yeah, it's great. Those are the seeds of something good that could happen on the Mirror Universe and what Starfleet is. And diverse groups working together to combat a common enemy.
Yeah.
That's like the moral fibers of Starfleet.
Right.
Not about the combat and the violence, but just working together in harmony. I mean, that's great. But the problem is they don't linger on that, right? It's just a little thread, and it's like great to see. Very Starfleet. They throw that thread there. Love to see it. But the problem is then it's all thrown out the door with the Tyler storyline once he sees Spock. Kapla! Fuck you!
Yeah, that's right. It was almost a
that
mechanism just to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't like that. And that's why the Tyler storyline still, no. But the best part about that whole thing was just Sarek's goatee, even though I hate that actor.
That was the best part.
Plus with the goatee.
So, okay, so I'll agree with you and then disagree with you.
Of course you will.
Which is the name of the game here. That's the show. That's actually the real title of the show. Well, I'll disagree with you in the Vox stuff. Okay.
There was a funny line at Superman 3. I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I thought he was saying something about disagree and agree, but it's like, what's that guy's name in Superman 3, the villain? Ross Webster. And he goes, I can't have anybody who's against me who isn't with me, or something like that. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, I can't have anyone disagree with me who isn't agreeing.
Who agrees with me, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things here. So one, we already litigated the Vox stuff and Tyler, so we'll skip past that. But there's 2 things. I didn't like the alliance. I'll tell you why. Well, I was going to say there's 2 things, but they're actually the same thing.
Part of the story.
What's that?
Played no part in the story.
Okay, so here's the thing. In the Mirror Universe, so this alliance comes together. I thought of an extra thing now. This alliance comes together to fight the Terran Empire, and they're like, this is like the Federation. These guys are like coming together, different races and all this stuff. But this universe, everybody's bad. At least that's the impression. Not like in this universe here, as Discovery portrays it, it's just humans who are bad, and everybody else is, we can't have this. We got to band together to get rid of these motherfuckers because they're evil. But I thought it would be more interesting if everybody was evil, and this alliance that comes together, they should have been evil too. That would have been great. And in fact, when we get to Deep Space Nine, everybody else is evil because when they overthrow the Terran Empire, they're all bad motherfuckers too, right? Mm-hmm. With Worf with his long hair, with his unkempt hair, and
Garrick being chained by his hair.
Exactly.
That was awesome.
Kira being a fucking psychopath and shit. All that stuff was so good, man. Because everybody's evil. And in here, it doesn't feel like everybody's evil. Like the alliance, whatever we call them, they didn't feel evil either. You know what I mean? They were the good guys. But they're not good guys because this whole universe, everybody's bad. Our universe and the Prime universe, the Vulcans are good. And here, the Vulcans are good. No, they should be the Mirror. They should be bad. And also, there wasn't any mention of Spock. We have Sarek, who's part of the rebellion. Presumably, at this point, Mirror Universe Spock, goatee and all, is serving on the ISS Enterprise, right, for the Empire. There's a missed opportunity as well. Like his guy's son, he's a rebellion. His son is serving with the enemy, right?
I hear you, but when we think about kind of life in general, I don't have a problem with you have such a way of thinking one way, and evolution, like from a mechanical or physical or biological standpoint, goes one way. There's going to be mutations and other things happening going another way. So I don't mind seeing this is a very small ragtag group of team. It didn't seem like they were a big party. It just looked like a very small faction of rebel fighters.
Right.
Who were thinking that way. And that was, to me, was fresh for the Mirror Universe.
Wouldn't it have been neat, though, if they go to meet this group of rebels? Because, I mean, their objective is self-serving. They want to learn how to defeat the Klingon Empire in their own universe. They didn't give a fuck about what's going on with them, which is also not for a Starfleet. But again, Prime Directive and all that, we can't interfere, but whatever. Wouldn't it have been neat, though, that, like, they go to these rebels, they're like, okay, we can relate to these guys, they come together like the Federation, like we got common ground, we can appeal to them. Wouldn't it be neat if they go to them and those motherfuckers are just as evil as the Terran Empire, just in their own way? They were just enemies, they weren't good, they were just as bad, but just different. Like, I thought that would have been great. Like, we can't deal with these guys either. They're fucking just as bad. They're evil too.
That would have been good if they lingered on that. Again, this went nowhere. The whole focus of that was to bring Tyler to Vought face to face.
It was.
So that's the problem with that episode, and that's the problem with this little group.
Well, yeah, they didn't...
Because they don't go anywhere with the story. They don't go anywhere
with it, yeah. It's totally immaterial to the whole thing. It's just a little aside, and that's too bad. They had 4 episodes to work with, and it would have been more interesting to flesh this out as opposed to doing... If they had done that, it could have been more Star Trek as opposed to action-adventure, yeah.
I agree with you just in general. It's just it's a poor writing. That's the problem.
I don't think it's poor writing. It's poor planning.
It's still poor writing.
No, the writing was fine. They're well-written episodes. The episodes are solid. But the arc of the 4 episodes...
I'll say the line from Superman 3 more correctly. I can't have anyone who isn't with me. Who isn't with me. So, I'll leave it at that.
It sounds like something Donald Trump would say.
Oh, yes.
Because that's who that guy was, basically, right?
That's the only thing I've got to say about this story.
He wasn't with me. I can't have anybody with me.
I think he says, I can't have anyone with me who isn't with me.
Truer words were never spoken. Yep. True. Okay, so let's move on from the Mirror Universe, just in the practicality of those 4 episodes. Is there anything else that you want to, throw in for the 4 episodes that took place in the Mirror Universe?
So we didn't talk about Saru.
Okay.
So he didn't have that much to do from the main storyline and conflict, but I did appreciate the scenes he was given on Discovery acting as acting captain. And you already brushed upon his scene with Tyler. We realize you are not you. This was not you, and we will not take away your freedom. And then he had a couple of other moments with Tilly talking about Stamets, like, I trust you, you're doing good, I'll recommend you for command positions and stuff like that in the future. And then just today we are Starfleet, and he had some kind of those Bill Pullman speeches, which he was doing, like the ID4 speech or whatever it was.
It was a Picard speech.
I wouldn't go as far.
Not as good, but...
Not nearly as good as any of the other captains. The main 3, I would say. I mean, I can't remember if Janeway made any good speeches or not.
I'll take Saru's speech over any Janeway speech any day of the fucking week.
I can't remember any of her speeches in Voyager, so
exactly.
I guess that says enough.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched Enterprise, so...
You've never watched Enterprise?
I've watched the first 2 episodes, and I was done.
Oh, that's it?
Yep.
Oh.
I haven't watched Enterprise.
A different conversation, I guess. But
yeah, it's sad. As a Star Trek fan, I've been conflicted. Should I go and watch it?
Yeah, I get it. Believe me, if anybody understands what your feelings are there, it's me. And this is not what we're talking about. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some bad Star Trek in Enterprise, but there's some good Star Trek in Enterprise. So you should just go and watch it. I think you should just go and watch it.
I think that's something I'll do when I retire.
You might not make it that far.
No, I know I won't.
Can you die knowing that there are minutes of Star Trek that you've never watched? You go to your grave knowing that. Like, you're on deathbed and it's like, there's Star Trek out there that I've never seen. No. The answer is no to that question, dude.
Yeah, technically it should be a no, but...
It should be a no. Because
I don't want to bring it up. After The Last Jedi, fandom in me is just broken.
Oh, man, you got to get over that fucking fanboy in you, dude. It doesn't matter.
My fandom is broken now, man.
No, don't be a neckbeard, dude.
I love the neckbeard.
No, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, man. Those guys don't have any joy in anything.
My life has not been the same after The Last Jedi. I'm telling you.
Fuck off with that shit. Just have some joy in your life, man. Come on. Get over it. You don't need to like everything, but...
I need a spore drive. That's what I need.
Well, you know what? I think we all need a spore drive for you, too. Let me know how it is on the other side. Fuck. Where were we?
Enterprise. I don't know what happened.
No, we were before Enterprise. Well, no, that was where we got off track, was Enterprise. Okay, so we were talking about the Mirror Universe, the speeches. The Saru speech. Saru, that's Saru.
Let's talk about Saru. So, Saru, I enjoyed what he was given, even though I wish he was involved a little bit more. What do you think of again, We're talking about eating. Remember we all joked about Georgiou being eaten?
The Klingons, yeah.
And then now the species, Saru species, is a delicacy in the Mirror Universe?
Yeah.
And they're being treated as slaves? Oh, man. What'd you think of that?
Oh, it's so disturbing. I mean, because
it's awesome. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, it is a nice touch. It's one of those things that you get like that spine-tingling feelings. Like,
and then when Burnham was actually eating?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know what's funny? It's not like a one-off reference. There was the Georgiou getting eaten by the Klingons, which was just terrifying.
So I was laughing my ass off. It was great.
I laughed too, but ugh. And then there was the scenes you're talking about here where they're reading the Kelpian,
that's it.
But there's also in the very last episode, Georgiou, when she's the Emperor, when she's not impersonating, but she's been hired by Starfleet to impersonate Captain Georgiou, and she has that banter with Saru on the bridge. And she's scared Kelpian makes for a tough Kelpian, and they talk about that.
Great lines, man.
Great lines. Great banter.
That was so well played by her. Because she's trying to be nice, but she's trying to do the dig too, so I love it.
I loved it too. I thought it was great. But then I'm thinking
that's exactly like my boss, I'm telling you.
He likes to eat.
But he's not as nice.
He likes to eat other sentient creatures?
I'm sure he'd burn me at the stake in the first.
Burn you at the stake and then apply barbecue sauce.
Maybe.
It just felt, I was like, okay, this is the third reference to eating another person on the show. I'm like, does somebody have a weird fetish on this writing staff that somebody needs to call the FBI here on the writing staff? Just to be sure.
Yeah, we should look at the credits. Is there a Hannibal on the list?
Somebody needs to do a screening here of this because it's...
If we see an episode called Red Dragon, then then we know we got a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
The cast isn't safe.
It's like Alex Kurtzman discovered eating...
No, discovered eating.
With Orky eating an orca. But
Yeah. The Bad Robot Offices, right? So.
Yeah, Bad Robot Offices exposed for assuming dolphin, and I don't know, I don't want to get too down that rabbit hole. Thankfully, Orcy's not involved in this show, so.
Yes, thank God.
That's a different conversation. Oh, fuck. So, yeah, the Kelpian thing, that was dark and disturbing, and sometimes it's fun to see Star Trek go there. Tilly will drop an F-bomb, and they'll be eating sentient species. Like, I've heard criticism of that, how adult Discovery can be. I understand it from this perspective. So, when I was a kid in the 80s, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, the reason I'm a Star Trek fan, my mom was a big Star Trek fan. She watched the original series in the 60s. So, when Nathan and I were growing up, my mom introduced us to Star Trek. We watched the original series in reruns in the 80s. And we watched the animated series briefly, and she took us to the movies. In fact, the original series movies were my brother and I, it was our entry into Star Trek. That was what we grew up with. So it was a family-oriented affair, right? I mean, there's mature themes and everything like that, but it was something you could take your kids to, something you could put on the TV and show your kids. And they'd get the good stuff. As I analyze my life, and I think I've said this in previous episodes, as I analyze my life, a lot of my values today, in fact, do come from Star Trek, for better or worse. So I could understand somebody watching today and be like, well, they're eating that dead girl and they're eating this dude and there's F-bombs. I can't show this to my kids. And I was a kid when I entered Star Trek, so I could understand that. I don't know, does it wall it off? Does it wall it off for kids?
This series does, but what I'm hoping, and it's a separate discussion, is this launches different shows with different tonality and different kind of maturity levels, where you could still have Star Trek and not be as vulgar.
Well, I hope so, and that'll be a topic that we'll discuss as well.
Yes. So let's move this along.
So let's call it on the Mirror Universe.
I just wanted to say then, Lorca's End, what did you think?
I thought it was good. There was a good battle. He was dispatched by his nemesis and toasted by the most pretty epic way. He was tossed into the spore reactor and just totally disintegrated. I thought it was a good finish. From an action-adventure perspective, it was a good finish. I thought it worked very well.
I agree. From an action perspective, it works. When I first watched it, I was shocked at how quickly it ended, though. Because really, the previous episode, he was revealed to be the Mirror Universe Lorca, and now it's just done. That's how it worked. The end of the previous episode, he formally revealed he's the Mirror Universe Lorca. He escapes from his agonizing booth in this one episode, then that's it. Now the story's finished. And again, I didn't like that.
I don't know. I just felt emotionally from the last couple episodes, it felt like for me, and maybe I was reading too much into stuff, I just felt like his storyline was coming to an end. It felt natural to me. Like he was the bad guy, or one of the bad guys, and he got dispatched. Within the context of the 4 Mirror Universe episodes, I think it felt right for me. Overall, I mean, there's some structural problems with the whole season, probably due to the fact that they switched gears with getting rid of Brian Fuller and all that. I mean, maybe not. Maybe we'll never know. But I don't know. I didn't need more of this character. Like, what else was going to happen here?
No, and I think we've touched upon it. We were just talking about the end. From an action perspective, it was fine to see him getting vaporized by the spore drive that brought him home, that he was obsessed about, that he caused problems to Discovery to begin with, and Stamets, his health and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's good comeuppance, but I don't know. It just felt a bit, I wouldn't say anticlimactic, because it's not the right word, because as we said, the action was good. I enjoyed those set pieces. What'd you think of all that, like the technology that we saw? We saw all those auto turrets. We saw the shields. We saw even George Yu had that kind of blade, like the vampire blade she threw all the way across, cut everyone's throat, came back to her in a boomerang style. Mm-hmm. So we saw all these kind of different things. It's, oh man, it's like Predator 2. I'm getting Predator 1 and I'm getting all of this other extra technology here. So what'd you think of that? I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought it was very cool. I mean, it looked great. I mean, the boomerang that she threw through everybody's heads, which they stole from the James McAvoy Angelina Jolie joint Wanted, which if nobody's ever seen, go see it.
Hey, that's from Blade, man. What are you talking about? And from Predator.
Did he do that in Blade? No, but in Predator.
Yeah. Right at the beginning of Blade, when he's in a nightclub, he throws that boomerang knife all the way around, cuts all the vampires' heads off.
Oh, yeah. I guess he didn't he? Well, either way, it's neat, but I was like, that was the only piece of technology. Like, oh, that's convenient. Everything else was fine, like the shield generators and the turrets and all of that. Like, it felt right to me like this culture, this civilization would have this advanced weaponry because they're warlike, right? They're combative. So it felt right to me. I thought it was...
Oh, yeah. Completely felt right.
Yeah, it felt
authentic. It was good. It's just I kind of wish, because we got that Harry Mudd episode with some transporter tech and different things he was using. I'm surprised they didn't do, because we saw this on TNG and DS9 especially, and probably Voyager, where we could use the transporter to do a lot of different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if they would do that. It just felt very simplistic. Cool, but simplistic. But again, you got one episode, you're running out of time. You don't want to make it too convoluted. So from a writing perspective,
you don't want to make it too convoluted, and you don't want, like, the more time you spend on it, then
on the tech, you lose from the drama.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to do too much teching of tech. You want to keep it to the characters, so it should be background, and it felt appropriate the level they used it. Like, it was background to me. It was neat. It felt right for the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, we just needed something, make the Terran Empire right again or something like that. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Make Terran great again.
Yeah, that's it. Make Terran great again. They
need that hat. It's like Terra, Terra was always great. You know, that universe had an Emperor Trump.
Definitely. He probably started the whole movement.
He probably did, exactly. You know that he developed that boomerang knife or whatever, for sure.
No, men do that. He's not a man, so...
Yeah, well, he was probably assassinated by Jared Kushner in the Mirror Universe.
He lasted like all of 2 minutes.
He lasted 2 minutes and then was replaced by somebody 10 times worse.
Or better. You never know.
Well, not in that universe.
Well, Evil Kirk? I'll take that. Come on.
Well, yeah, I would take that.
He ruled that.
Well, I don't know. Kirk would never have been Emperor in that universe. I don't think.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. Because I think that Kirk in the Mirror Universe, and this segue is the segue, Kirk in the Mirror Universe is the same as Kirk in the Prime Universe, which is that he had one love, which was the Enterprise. And he would have clutched to that love with his dying fingers and never would have left.
Yeah, hard to argue against that. I'd be the same way. Once I step foot on the Enterprise, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go anywhere else.
No, neither would I. And the difference would be that you would have been vanquished in about 45 seconds by not even goatee Spock, but you would have been vanquished by scarred Sulu.
Scarred Sulu.
Or fucking Chekhov, who...
No, I think I could take Chekhov.
Yeah, maybe you could have taken Chekhov. Yeah. He's a little wiry. You probably could have taken him down, but Sulu would have knifed your spine in half.
I was just throwing some pad thai on the ground.
Oh, boy.
And then take him down, right?
Wow. Think he has any butter chicken in his back pocket to deal with your eyes?
Touché.
Oh, boy. I don't know if that can go in the final cut of this episode, but that was funny. Okay, the mirror universe done. Let's move on. Oh, boy. So we get back to the Prime universe. And the Discovery has jumped 9 months into the future after they figured out how to get forward. So we get back to the episode The War Without, The War Within. So we're back to the Prime Universe. And it looks like the Federation has lost or is sorely losing the war with the Klingon Empire. Yeah, so the Discovery is boarded by Admiral... What was her name?
I've seen her before in something. I don't know what it was.
Man, what is her name?
She's very familiar, but I don't know if she's done more TV stuff than that's my guess. I just can't recall where I've seen her.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Hold on.
Oh, you're actually Googling it. Okay.
Role in LA Law. She was in Chicago Hope. She guest starred in 4 episodes of Boston Legal. Do you want to know who played her on-screen father in the show?
It's got to be the Shat.
It's not the Shat, but it is a Star Trek connection. It is Rene Auberjonois.
Oh, Odo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
and kudos to you for getting that name right. Man, I would have butchered that.
Yeah, well, I got my moments.
There you go. I would have just said, Renee, I'm just going to call him Odo.
Renee Auber-Odo.
Auber-Jackie.
Auber-Odo, his name is.
Yeah, Auber-Odo.
Here's a little piece for you. She was in Kindergarten Cop.
That's probably where I know her from.
Maybe, but you might also know her from her first role in film in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Oh, she was probably the fucking teacher.
She was the high school teacher.
Yeah, see, right off the bat. I knew it. There you go. She was the teacher.
Yep.
It's like, where do I know her from?
Right.
I know her from somewhere.
Yeah, man. So she's been around. She's been in lots of stuff now that I look through her.
She looks pretty good. She was in Superman 4. Oh, fuck. It's a while ago.
No, she was great. She was really good. I don't want to linger on her physical appeal, but it's definitely there. 21st century, and that's not how we evaluate female actors anymore. We've done so on this show, but...
Yeah, I was just going to say, this show is not... We are not mature. We have not evolved enough. We're not Starfleet material.
We're not Starfleet material. No, that is absolutely correct. But she was really good. I actually really liked her appearances on Discovery here. That brings up another point I noticed. So in the back half here, after they return to the Prime Universe, what I thought was great and worked really well was they did have a large female presence in like sort of command of the episodes. So that with the Admiral, with Michael, with Cadet Tilly, and with some other commanders in Starfleet. Traditionally, you have shows and you have the dudes calling the shots. You got this masculine stuff going on. And it's not so much like testosterone, but there's certain beats that get played. And here, where you have the female characters in control of the story, like they're the protagonists, they're driving the story with the Admiral, with Michael, with Tilly. They talk about different shit than men talk about on TV shows. And I don't want to seem like an ignorant guy, but I found it super interesting. I'm like, this is different. Like, I've seen the men going to war scene 100 times. This I haven't seen before, where the women are going to war. And I thought it was really good. And she anchored that, Admiral Cornwall, whose name, again, I just fucking forgot, because Jane Brooke, like, they did a good job anchoring those scenes. They were good. And I don't know, man. I thought it was really effective. I thought it was a great place for Star Trek to go. I know we've had a woman captain before with Janeway, but they didn't do anything with her because she didn't have any other female characters to play off of. Here, there's...
I don't know if that's fair. I'm not sure that's fair.
I think it's fair, and I'll tell you why I think it's fair. Because when Voyager came out, Janeway, the female captain at that point, was a stunt. They didn't do anything about her being a woman and being a captain. And I guess you could chalk that up to...
I don't know about that. I remember there was episodes about her. I wouldn't say she let her guard down, her femininity guard down, but there were episodes that I recall that were dealing with her loneliness. She was just trying to let down her guard as a captain so she could just be herself.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with being a woman?
Well, I mean, what's the difference?
What exactly?
It's that much of a difference.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying, is that I guess you could chalk it up to be like, oh, it's Star Trek, so it doesn't matter that it's a woman or a man because everybody's the same. And while we would all love that to be true in the 24th century, it'll be true. Today, it just isn't. That's not how we fucking operate now these days. Like, there wasn't any statement about her being a woman. Like, the letting her guard, that doesn't mean anything, letting the guard down. Why can't the man let his guard down? Picard let his guard down occasionally. Cisco, like, that didn't have anything to do with anything. It was just like, you could have had a dude in the role of Janeway, and it would have affected the show exactly 0%. Would have been exactly.
I don't know, man. I think every captain has had their episodes where they've let their guard down just to be themselves.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But
that's what I'm saying is that it didn't matter. They were just like, oh, she's a woman, so congratulations to us for being progressives. No, you're not really being progressive. I mean, you're putting a woman in that role, which is great.
But what's the difference here with Discovery? It's the same thing.
The difference here with Discovery is that there are women interacting with other women, and they're not talking about dudes. They have different sensibility.
That's fine, but this is very quick. You're talking about this Admiral, and she has all of maybe 5 minutes of screen time, and she's talking stuff with Burnham, and Burnham's talking stuff with Tilly. But I mean, especially DS9, are you telling me Kira only conversed with the other female officers, only talking about dudes?
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
Don't buy it.
Go back and watch.
No way.
Go back and watch it.
No way.
Go back and watch it.
Bullshit. Jadzia
and Kira talked about Bashir.
So they talked about that stuff. I'm not saying they did.
That was it.
No, I disagree.
Go back and watch it.
It was not it. I will
watch it.
Disagree.
Go back and watch it. They hardly conversed, and when they did, it was about Bashir or Quark or Cisco.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. They had other scenes.
Nope. I've been watching it. They never talk. And when they do, it's about Cisco, it's about Bashir, it's about Quark. They don't talk about anything else.
I'm not saying they don't do that. I'm saying that's not all of it.
That is 90% of it. If it's 50% of it, it's fine.
You're talking about 91% out of 17.
What's the percentage of time that Cisco and O'Brien are talking about that?
Let me get this straight. In Discovery, we've had Burnham talk about dudes, her problems with Tyler, her relationship with Tyler, with other people, with Saru, with Lorca, with Tilly. It doesn't matter. She's still talking about dudes. Oh, it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
No way.
Yeah, it matters. Yeah, just go back and watch it. And fresh look. Just go back and take a fresh look is all I'm saying. So what I'm saying is this. In these final episodes, the drivers we're trying to, like, ourselves, you and me, here today in the 21st century, we want to be Starfleet. Like, we're trying to attain what they already are. And what's great about these final 2 episodes is the drivers of the final stretch here. Burnham, obviously, because she's our hero of the whole thing. We got Tilly, we got the Admiral, we even have L'Rell. The ladies are the keys to the final push of the story. And what I find is great about that is that it's hard to describe because we're not girls, man. So we can just do our best to interpret, which we suck at, interpreting women. Let's face it. But what I appreciate that Star Trek is doing here is they celebrate the differences between men, because we are different, man. Like, fuck off if you say we're not different from men and women aren't different. We do shit differently. It's just how we are. But what I'm saying is that that's good. That's a good thing. There's no value on it. Nobody's better or worse. It's good. And I liked this story told from their way of doing things. Like, I thought it was really good. And Georgiou, I forgot Georgiou. Georgiou, Tilly, L'Rell, Burnham, they were so good in these final scenes here. They were the ones who were driving this. I thought it was great.
Driving's one thing. Story still was garbage shit.
Well, yeah, it wasn't garbage shit. It just wasn't great.
Oh, it's garbage shit level, man.
It's not 1 or 10.
This is Attack of the Clones level, man. I'm sorry, Attack of the Clones. It's down there.
No, it's not, because Attack of the Clones, the reason why Attack of the Clones was garbage is because the characters sucked. They couldn't sell it. The dialogue was garbage. Yeah, the storyline, I mean, Attack of the Clones, the storyline was the least of the problems. It was the characters who sucked dick. And unfortunately, the performances were garbage too, but they didn't have anything to work with. Here, yeah, the story's not great. Bad. It's a little silly.
You need to bring yourself down from the hype. I know you're enjoying Discovery. I'm enjoying Discovery too. We've got to bring it down, man. This resolution to this Klingon war, holy crap, it's terrible.
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't overshadow everything else. It doesn't negate the good things that happen here.
The only thing good that I'm hearing from you, which I support, is we have a bunch of different female characters which are driving the story. Great.
That's not the only good thing that's happening.
Nothing else is happening here. Tell me what else is good here.
Well, other than some of the little beats here are entertaining and funny, but there are good character moments here.
Howard.
Sorry?
Let's talk about Clint Howard.
Clint Howard, baby. That's the part.
Even though I wish more. It was like, why? That's it?
I know, I wanted more. The problem with having more Clint Howard, Harry, the problem with having more Clint Howard is then you have more Clint Howard, which...
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, he's much, and it's just too much. There's a limit. You can't have so much hot sauce, then it ruins the whole thing. That's what Clint Howard is.
I would like more there, but I appreciated the cameo.
And it was more than a cameo. He had lines. He didn't have agency in the storyline, but he got Tilly high, which was fucking great. I thought it was hilarious.
What was the point?
No, there was no point. It was just funny. And I agree with you. It didn't have any point, and could they have cut it? Yes, and put something else there that was more dramatic or relevant? They could have. But...
It's fine. It was
fine. It was just a little character moment for Tilly, and it was fine. You're right. It had no relevance. I'll tell you this. If
Clint Howard wasn't there, and she got high, in the same manner, it's just some offbeat actor doing this part, I'd have a problem with that scene.
Why? What's your problem with the scene? That it was there or how it played out?
Both.
Here's the thing. From a plot perspective, we needed a mechanism for her to find that it wasn't a drone, that it was a bomb.
I'm okay.
Right?
But
so what's the mechanism for that? They had to figure out how that was going to go.
I think you're reaching a little bit, but that's okay. Everyone has different...
That was the plot thrust to it, is it's a bomb, not a drone. So how do our heroes find out that it's a bomb, not a drone?
Yeah, so she had to get high to figure that out?
She didn't. She could have done it in any number of ways.
Right. That's my point. This is meant for a gag, a joke. It's a lighthearted moment.
Yeah, it's a gag.
And it works because I see Clint Howard there. So I'm enjoying this because of Clint Howard, not because she's getting high.
But then it works.
Fine, but that's my point.
Yeah.
Let's move on. It's a nothing scene anyway.
It is a nothing scene. You're right. It is a nothing scene. It's like when Geordi gets dumped on the holodeck.
Actually, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about Starfleet's plan here?
Okay, sure. Yep, good call. Let's talk about Starfleet's plan.
Actually commit genocide.
Yes.
I think that's the more important topic we should discuss about.
Agreed.
So I like the fact that our Discovery crew in Burnham are saying, no, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We will all stand against you. But again, that is not something unique to Discovery. That is every show that we have seen in Star Trek.
Absolutely, yeah.
And every show that we have seen in other franchises.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, they have these moments.
Yep.
They will stand and do the right thing. But what did you think about Starfleet's plan? And I guess I want to ask you, because of the 9-month differential when they jumped back,
yep.
What did you think of the fact that the Klingons were in this kind of position to begin with in just 9 months?
Well,
I thought that was unrealistic.
That the Klingons would have had that much advantage in 9 months, or that Starfleet would have come up... Which part was unrealistic?
Both. No, Starfleet having the plan, I mean, we've already seen the evil admirals doing whatever, and now their backs against the wall, it's desperation time. I'm just curious what you think of Starfleet's plan, but just also the plot point that when they jumped back 9 months later, the Klingon Empire were at the verge of winning the entire war.
Yeah, okay, so I'll talk about the verge of winning the war there. That's really difficult to say, just because... How long does it take to win a war in space? The Klingons have this huge advantage of being able to have invisible spaceships that can, blow up all your shit. So that's hard to say. I guess from a writing perspective, you got to pick an amount of time where it's believable that a huge shift could happen in the war, but not so long that you're completely out of the fight. I suppose, I guess it could have gone 4 years into the future and been like, this is just how long it took, and this is how far out we are. I don't know.
I guess it's not really about the timeline. I mean, the amount of time that's passed. It's just, I don't know, it's a played trope. Well, it's my backs are against the wall, and now I got to do my Hail Mary, and it's going to solve everything. I don't know. I don't know.
I agree, and I felt the same way where it's, listen, like, you've got this intergalactic war, and all it takes for you to win is to throw this Hail Mary pass. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Wars take a long time. There's a slog, and you find your strategic advantage. You can advance on that. There's so much more that kind of goes into it. So, yeah, I agree. It's not so much that the 9-month gap and the Klingons have this advantage. It's that, we now find this tactical advantage that can win the war just as a one-off. That's not how wars work. It's not how they've ever worked. So
Well, it's
more
also,
that
from a storytelling perspective, it's also very convenient.
It is very convenient.
Now, how did you beat the Klingons, Georgiou? Well, I found all these tunnels, and now we're introducing a problem that I had with JJ Trek. It's so convenient for me just to get there. Now my starship can get there. I'm invisible to everything. I warped into the tunnel with the spore drive. How convenient. I know the exact coordinates. Just like I'm traveling through warp, I can beam people in and out. They don't know the coordinates. Everything is convenient now. I hate that. This is terrible writing. This is a problem I have.
It's not...
Like, you gotta fit within the rules of the universe. Now I'm away from JJ Trek. I want to get back to Prime Star Trek, Kirk universe, the Picard universe. I gotta follow, abide by those rules. Sure, you got a spore drive that's gonna do something different. You want to run with that? I'm okay, even though I still have problems with that. But now I can just conveniently, without knowing anything, know where my tunnel is in the middle of their planet to hide myself. I got a big problem there. And we already see Stamets struggling. Oh, this is the right path in the spore drive. This is the right path, but I really don't know. But now it's exact pinpoint coordinate that I'm not going to materialize in the middle of some rock formation in the middle of the planet.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's stupid. Well, you're not supposed to think about that. Star Trek's pulled this kind of shit in other episodes. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah. That these two episodes are so rushed and so convoluted and so convenient. I hate it. It's bad writing.
All right. Do you really hate it, though?
Yes.
Okay.
I can throw some butter chicken at you if you want.
Well, it would work, because I love me some butter chicken, man. I'll tell you what, I do. And I'm not talking about white people butter chicken. I want, like, the fucking spicy brown people butter chicken is what I want.
When we get to a good milestone episode, I'll take you up for some nice one.
We should record an episode live, like you and me in a restaurant over just the spiciest fucking Indian food that we can find. You'll be able to hear me mopping my fucking face. You'll be looking at the restaurant. What are these motherfuckers doing? Actually, that's a good idea. But listen, I'm going to agree with you to a point, and then I'm going to disagree with you to a point. I'm going to judge you right now, because that's what I'm going to do.
Well, that's you in a nutshell.
But you're being really extreme, right? Like, I hate this. And I take exception to that because, like, I could get it that you don't, that, like, you got your problems with it. I get it, man. But, like, they're doing what they can with what they have. And I don't think hate is right for that. I really don't. I think that criticism is right for that. And here's my criticism of it, because I agree that it is far too convenient. Now, if you're going to introduce magic, basically, and magic being the Kelvinverse transwarp technology, that was the magic technology there. The spore drive, which is the magic technology here, there's no cost. Like, if you're going to do it, fine, whatever. But if you have this technology, basically you could rule the entire galaxy. And that doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with the ideals of the show. It doesn't fit with the mechanics of what we already know Star Trek to be. Like, we know that Captain Kirk and Picard and Sisko and Janeway, they didn't have this kind of magic technology. So if you're going to introduce that in a prequel series, then what's the cost to using this technology? What's the cost to beaming into the core of Kronos and basically being able to win the war with little more than a baseball-sized bomb? They had no repercussions to having this kind of technology. And I think that's the fallacy, or not that they had it, but that if you're going to introduce this kind of shit to your storyline, then what's the morality of it? What's the cost of it? Nothing's for free. Everything, you got to pay for anything. If I go to the store and buy a candy bar, I got to pay $1.25. If I drop a nuclear bomb on my enemies, I gotta pay for the human toll of that. Everything has cost. You gotta live with that. If I want free speech, then the cost is that I'm gonna have some fucking moron spouting some bullshit, but that's the cost. That's the price I have to pay for this thing that I want. So that's what the series... That's where I think they fail. Not that they have it, but that when they designed in the show that they have this thing, there was no cost. The only cost was Stamets was sort of in a coma for a few episodes. It was the only cost of this technology, and that was my problem with it. Oh, we can go to the Klingon homeworld. Oh, and by the way, there's all these chasms. And oh, and by the way, we can blow the whole fucking planet up with this whole thing. All right, fine. If you want to give me all of these very convenient plot devices, I mean, that is lazy writing, and if you're going to give me the lazy writing to do that, okay, fine. What does it cost our heroes who have a moral compass because they're Starfleet, what does it cost them to use this technology? And if those characters weighed that cost, would they have used that technology? And probably they wouldn't have, but they didn't know, so it comes down to what? Burnham pointing a phaser at Georgiou and saying, turn it off. Nobody paid the price.
Exactly. Where's the lesson? But the problem is here is it's all happening so fast that from a storytelling perspective, I have a big problem with it. It just doesn't work. In this episode and a half is what we have here. And that's my problem. And then I'm all for the Discovery pulling what, as I said, every ship in any other episode has done the same, and every crew has done the same thing. I'm not abiding by this. No, we're Starfleet. They even say that. Saru says, we're Starfleet. We're not doing this. The Admiral just sits there saying, okay, what do you propose? Which is fine. It's great that she was open to a proposition. Yeah. My God, could you not? Obviously, let's talk about this. You want to commit genocide. So that's good because we're all Starfleet. We want to see Starfleet be Starfleet, which is great. But it still fell through dramatically for me, just to put it simply.
Yeah.
The best part about it was Georgiou versus Burnham. Georgiou was from the Mirror Universe, was willing to do this without hesitation. Burnham being pure Starfleet, which is great. That's our hero, our protagonist, saying, nope, we can't do this. There's a better way. And I'm all for that. That's good drama, but I've seen that before, but it was too rushed, and I wanted it more drawn out. The reason why I complain more now is because I expect a continuing storyline with a streaming service and in modern filmmaking and storytelling, whereas in TNG days, and even slightly DS9 days, we really only had 1 or 2 episodes to wrap everything up. Here I'm expecting something better, but I think they shot themselves in the foot with too much first half season dealing with something that never really came to fruition, and then really good Mirror Universe episodes, but then it's wrapped up too quickly, and then I got 2 episodes to wrap up what was dealing with the first episode for the first half of the season, and it's all jarring, as we've talked about. And to me, it doesn't fit well. That's still the problem I have.
Yeah, I do want to agree with you because I think it's an odd choice because they spent the first half of the season with the Klingon War, and then they spent, we only have, what do we have? We have 15 episodes, the first half of the season, more than first half of the season, if you count the pilot, dealing with the Klingon War, and then we spent 4 full episodes in the Mirror Universe, and then 2 episodes back on the Klingon War to wrap things up. They didn't take the time that was necessary to do the story correctly. And, correctly, whatever, but to give it the time that was probably due to the story, right? That's frustrating. So let's change gears here. Let's go to the Mirror Universe for 4 fucking episodes, a full third of the season, basically.
I actually have no problem with that. But then, as I suggested...
Well, I liked the episodes, but it took away from what they should be doing with Klingon War.
Well, and the mid-season finale earlier, shave off a couple episodes, like in the first half, and then do your 4 episodes in the Mirror Universe and do 4 episodes with this Klingon stuff.
Sure.
Right?
I could live with that, or...
I could live with that, or, as I suggested, end it, and... you have, this is a continuing storyline for the second season, but now they have someone else along the way helping them.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm glad that they only spent 1 season on the Klingon War.
But the thing is, it's such a big political driver in the original series.
It is.
And in the original series movies, that to me it makes sense that the second season would be dealing with this.
And I think that would have been fine if they had, but I guess on the other side of the coin, because it's Star Trek, how much time do you want to spend on the war?
Man, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I agree with you.
It's a huge deal. It's the deal when you're talking about this timeline.
Yeah.
At this period of time. This is the conflict.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about a couple of things. The wrap-up of Tyler's story and his relationship with Burnham. We haven't talked enough about him and Burnham and their relationship. And then also, what the fuck was happening with L'Orelle's plan? She goes to this kind of weirdo High Council meeting, which seems like it's coming from the Matrix 2 in these weird caverns.
Yeah.
And not a Klingon High Council.
Yeah,
what the fuck's going on here? Is a rave about to start up or something like that?
Yeah.
And
Klingon Rave.
Klingon Rave.
That's the name of my next metal band, is Klingon Rave.
And I was expecting 3PO to say, but he's holding a thermal detonator. What's going on here?
Yeah.
This is weird.
Okay, so let's...
Oh, man, this is bad. This is what I'm talking about, man. How can you let this pass? They rightfully laughed at her, but then she says 1 or 2 lines and they're okay with it after a bomb threat.
Yeah, no, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
What's going on?
That was awful. What were they doing there? Okay. I could live with the idea that Burnham gives her the detonator and be like, okay, now you have the power. And that was thin as it was. But, okay. They should have just not had that scene.
No detonator. Just go fucking talk. Hey, fine, go challenge someone to a Klingon rite of passage or something like that, or beat him in a bat-left fight. Totally. Do what you need to do based on your customs. Well, but what's this criminal shit?
Why would they believe her that was anything? Well, she's holding up an iPad. Who gives a fuck? She could bomb the whole planet? Like, who is this person? Like, nah, that...
Yeah. Who are you? It's like that Seinfeld episode where Elaine's trying to get, like, the Chinese food into her apartment. Right. She goes to the other apartment complex, knocks on the stranger's door, and he goes, who are you? It's like, I want to order the chicken.
You are blacklisted.
Yeah, you are blacklisted. Who are you?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
No, totally. It didn't, and I completely agree. That they should have just not had that scene, and we could have inferred that, whatever, at that point, I guess. The whole bomb thing was silly. But if they were going to do that, and Michael was like, okay, here's the bomb that can blow up your homeworlds, why don't you use that to unify your people? I mean, that was thin as it was, but if that was what they were going to do, they should just left it there and forget about the scene where somehow everybody believes her that she's got this bomb. Like, she's not going to blow up the homeworld, right? Even if they believed her, they'd be like, well, we'll just go get this bomb and deactivate it. She ain't going to blow us all up.
Yeah, she'd be impaled from behind. Well, everyone would pull out their blaster and would just shot her right there.
I could believe that she would have had her own followers that would have been bodyguards and all that stuff, but they would just be like, she's not going to blow up the planet. Let's just go get the bomb. We have sensors. Do the Klingons not have sensors? They have sensors. They are a spacefaring species. And like, let's go find this bomb. Like, she's not going to blow us up before we find this bomb. She's deactivated. And this is why I say that when they spent 4 episodes in the Mirror Universe, which were good episodes, don't get me wrong, they're good episodes, but they're like, okay, we want to resolve Klingon War because we want to move on in Season 2. Fine. We want to move on in Season 2. No problem. This is sloppy. When you say bad writing, at this point I have disagreed with you, but at this moment, I'm like, yeah, this is sloppy. You got to find a better resolution than this. This is no good.
I mean, we've seen worse than Star Trek, but for a modern series to pull this shit, no, you got to do better.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about Burnham and Tyler going his own way with L'Oreal?
I thought the scenes with Burnham and Tyler, I thought those worked really well. From the first scene when she goes to see him in that sort of observation sort of a deck area, and they have their conversation there. I thought that was really good. And what I thought was really good about that was she basically tells him, like, dude, not cool. And he tries to throw it back at her. He's, you're just using an excuse to get out of this relationship and what we have, and we loved each other, and you're just scared or whatever.
Well, I mean,
that was really good. Like,
it's real, which is good.
Yeah,
this is what people do when they break up or fight, right?
But he was so wrong about throwing it back at her, and that felt really authentic to me about people who are breaking up.
I wouldn't say he's wrong though.
Oh, I would say he's wrong in the sense that, like, she's okay. So I loved you, and you turned out to be a fucking sleeper agent, and you tried to kill me, and all right, you say that wasn't you, but I told you before that if it becomes too much for you, you got to tell me, and you didn't, and he didn't. That was like everything else sort of built up, and that was sort of the last straw.
No, I'm not saying Burnham's wrong. This is all real stuff. Yeah. This is good stuff. This is, as you said, authentic. But Tyler's also calling her out on her insecurities and her flaws.
But I don't know that her insecurities are true insecurities. It felt like she had some justification.
No, she got some problems from her Vulcan upbringing.
Oh, totally.
From the loss of her parents. Like, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, dude. She's got her issues, for sure. And you're right. She's got her insecurities. But in those circumstances to call her out, that's a ballsy play because he might not be wrong. He might not be wrong and intellectual.
I'm not defending Tyler, though, but I'm just saying that it's hard for me to defend Tyler because he did try to kill her. I don't know. It's just a weird fucking situation.
It is.
You know?
Exactly.
No one can relate to that, right?
No one can because it doesn't happen in real life. But that's what's good about it. You're right. He calls her out on her insecurity, which is true. And she does have those. But from her perspective, dude, like, you're a Klingon operative and you lied to me and you're a Klingon operative. That's what's great about it, is they're both right. And they're both wrong. This is some fucked up shit. That's what's so good about it. There's no clear resolution to this situation because they both clearly care about each other, right? So
It's a messed up relationship.
Yeah.
Relationships in real life are messed up. There's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of problems. Nothing's perfect. So it's grounded. It's real. It's fine. I enjoyed those scenes. So what did you think about them moving their separate ways at the end and how it wrapped up?
Mixed about it. From the TV show perspective, I mean, it would be hard. Like, how do you have him come back to the Discovery with her and move forward from there? Just from what you've set up, like that dude would end up in a laboratory, in a military laboratory at Starfleet.
I think that's what he said, right?
Yeah.
Essentially?
What he said.
Something along those lines?
Exactly. So from that perspective, he had to leave. Don't know that I buy that he would have gone with L'Rell. I think it would have made more sense if he had gone with Georgiou, like just off into the universe. Like I got no place. I got no place with the Klingons. I got no place with the Federation. I think that would have made more sense than... I mean, L'Rell is also an outcast, so thematically there's a bit of a dovetail there, which I'm okay with. And
it's kind of fucked up because he's still Vox.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm still attracted to this woman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, because he has all Vox memories, right? So, yeah.
No, it's weird. It's interesting. Again, the only problem I have is because we're talking about, like, a wrap-up within 5 minutes. It's just too rushed.
Quick, yeah. And then again, I go back, pare down the Mirror Universe probably could have been on 2 episodes instead of 4. And some of these themes, maybe we could have explored a little bit deeper.
I would just prefer the Klingon stuff to continue in the second season, with or without what's coming.
Maybe, yeah.
And then Tyler's still there, L'Rell is still there, they're on board, figure out what to do with them, make things interesting. You could still have some drama, but
I agree.
It's okay. He can come back always later, right, Tyler?
I mean, the Klingons are an ongoing threat for the next 45 years in this universe, so you can always come back. So if we go back to the scene, I mean, I thought their scenes together were really good. So going back, I thought those character moments, even though the plot around it, wasn't great, that the character moments between the two of them were really good. I mean, I felt it was authentic and...
It's authentic. Got good chemistry. No problems there. The acting is good. It's just too fast for me. But it makes sense that he goes away.
Yeah.
Based on what's happened to him. I don't have an issue with him leaving. Because, as you said, he's just going to be an experiment. He did commit murder. He's got no freedom in Starfleet as it stands now. So he's got to leave.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
He can't serve as security chief on Discovery going forward. That just doesn't work, right?
No issue for him leaving.
Yeah.
But he will come back, whether it's season 2 or season 3 or whatever season, he will come back.
Yeah, I think we'll see him again. And I hope we see him again. There's still lots you can do with that character. What's the actor's name? Shazad Latif. I thought he was really good. I liked his performance. I thought the character was good. Lots of material there, so...
Yeah, he's the Star Trek version of Kister. So there we go.
Oh, man.
Just need a high five. That's all we need.
I just watched Phantom Menace the other day, too. Like, oh, man.
Did you enjoy it as a whole?
Oh, yeah. As a whole, I enjoy watching it.
It's great, man.
Great.
It's a movie.
Great.
It's got a lot of charm.
It's got a lot going for it, and it's got a lot not going for it, but it's a watchable movie. How about that?
Well, I'll partially disagree, but let's move on.
Yeah, okay,
so,
let's move on. So
I think that wraps up most of Discovery. Yeah. But I guess the last shot.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that.
Okay, so let's talk about that and going forward. So, yeah, in the last shot, we see the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701, no bloody A, B, C, D, or E, rolls into frame and nose to nose with the Starship Discovery and distress call from Captain Christopher Pike. I mean, wow, what a way to end the season there. That's a cliffhanger and a half. Shit, man, I don't even know what to say. I mean...
Biggest smile I've had since I first saw Luke Skywalker at the end of The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Almost got teary-eyed. I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Me too, man. I don't know what it is, man. I mean, I've described it before, maybe just growing up with Star Trek, but seeing that ship and what it means.
It's the ship.
It's the ship. It is the ship. Yeah, 100%. And what it means. Yeah, emotions abound. You can't describe it. It was special to see it. It was special, right? To see it. That's the way I felt.
Everything.
It was great. Yeah.
It's everything. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess we are not getting into our final thoughts, but Discovery's not perfect, but it's good. Like the best first season of Trek that we've ever had, I can safely say. Except for maybe the original series. Or at least I could say since the original series.
Yes.
But that capped it off just perfect for me.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I think that there's some fans out there, some pundits out there like it was cheap and we don't want to do that.
But I have concerns because I like that moment, but it does bring up a whole bunch of problems that could happen.
Yeah, there's a can of worms that they've opened here.
Yes. That's the risk, right?
There's a huge risk, but you know what? Yeah, I'd rather they take the risk and go for it than not. I mean, why not?
So I guess that's the question with the Enterprise here. I mean, obviously there's no Kirk. It's just going to be Pike and Spock. It looks like it's going to be a search for Spock because season 2.
Yeah.
We've seen that guy cast. I'm sure you've seen the news of the young Spock being recast again.
Yeah.
So he will show up eventually.
Yeah.
Who knows what the story's going to be, but yeah, search for Spock with Pike and crew. Does it open up a can of worms? Are we convoluting the storyline? And does it detriment Discovery on its own to build their own stories?
Yeah, so
that was the question I really have for you.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first question you asked was, does it detriment Spock and all of that? I actually don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is if you go back and watch The Cage, the original pilot, which is part of canon, even though they never aired it, but that's part of canon because they go back and revisit it in the original series. Spock seems like a very different character, doesn't he? Like a very different Vulcan. You know, he's smiling and he's shouting, and the characterization is different, but they take it as canon. So from that perspective, can Discovery explore who Spock was in that time period? Because this is about that time period, right? Discovery's in that time period when The Cage takes place. So can we explore the Spock character in that time frame to reconcile early Spock with original series Spock? I think there's an opportunity there. That might be interesting. To your second question, does that sort of diminish what happens with Discovery? I think yes, it might. I watched the trailer for the season 2 trailer just before we went on the air here, and Captain Pike takes command of the Discovery to do this mission, which part of which is to search for Spock. Yeah, that brings it down a little bit because then it doesn't make it as much Discovery story as it does about the Enterprise's story and Spock. I'm a fan of Pike because character is cool, and Spock obviously we all love, but you know, maybe it would be nice if they charted their own course out of there. Now that being said, we haven't seen the episodes, so who knows? So I don't know. What do you think?
I think, as I mentioned before, if we're dealing with political strife of the Klingon War, this would have even more of an emotional punch, and I would love it even more. But because probably the Klingon War seems to be wrapped up, and now we're going down another search for Spock issue, I'm a little worried because I think Discovery should stand on its own.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to see the Enterprise, and as I said, I had the biggest smile on my face when you sit down and think about it, you're risking the convolution, but more importantly, you want to make Discovery stand the test of time on its own. And I feel this first season, this crew, they stood on the coattails of two very good actors in Jason Isaacs and Michelle Yeoh, which to me stole the show for season 1. Now the attention's going to be on the Enterprise, Pike, and Spock.
Yeah.
Again, they're going to be standing on the coattails of that kind of legacy.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be only focused on that. And so will I. Because I want to. Because I love it. I'm a fan. That's my ship. That's what I want to see. But if you want to create a new show on its own that's going to be beloved and stand the test of time, this might be a mistake. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be a couple episodes.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going to be the whole season. So I think that's a huge mistake. And this is CBS, Paramount, whoever it is, making the big mistake of they're just too afraid of these shows to breathe on their own. And they need to. Otherwise, why not just recast Star Trek again and make another Enterprise show with Kirk and Spock and Bones? But if you want to make a show about Discovery, and this is another problem. This is why I still have a problem with Burnham having this Vulcan heritage and being related to Spock. I think if that wasn't there, this idea would not even be present at all.
Probably not.
So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited, but my mind is telling me this is a mistake.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I hadn't thought about it in those terms before, but I think you're right. I want this show to stand on its own, and I don't mind an episode here or there that crosses over with themes or characters from the original series, whether it be Harry Mudd or the Mirror Universe or Pike and the Enterprise and Spock. You're right. It looks like it's going to be the thrust of the season. It does not help Discovery stand on its own. And that in itself doesn't mean we can't have good Star Trek stories, but I think you're right. At a long-term perspective, it does hurt a little bit. The Star Trek, all the series, for better or worse, like TNG stands on its own. DS9 stands on its own. Voyager, as much as I have I don't want to say a love-hate relationship, I'll say a hate relationship with Voyager, it stands on its own. It's its own show. Enterprise is its own show. And yeah, Discovery needs to be its own show. It's a symptom of them setting this show in this time frame. Like, if you set the show 10 years after the events of Star Trek Nemesis, then it's easier to chart your own course. And I've been a little disappointed with Star Trek in the 21st century here is that they haven't charted their course past the events of the next generation. And that's a disappointment to me.
It's a disappointment for a lot of fans.
Yeah. And so if you're not going to set it past that point, then that means that you naturally get caught up in some of these storylines, right? In the continuity. Mm-hmm. I think we had speculated about this way back on the show before Discovery had been announced, that maybe like we knew that there was a new Star Trek show, and we didn't know when, what timeline, and it might have taken place sort of after Star Trek 6.
Yes, we were both hoping it would be between Star Trek 6 and TNG.
Yeah, and that would have been
a lot of playroom there.
Yeah, a lot of playroom.
Yeah, the technology would fit better, even better than. Yeah,
and I think that would have been a smarter choice for them. But they didn't do it, and it's been a good show. So what are you going to do?
No, we just got to relax and enjoy the ride and see what happens. I'm still looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's roll this up with Discovery. Yeah, what do you think? Overall thoughts?
I think they've done enough good here. I have a lot of issues still, but considering it's first season Star Trek, it is much better than what we have seen for first seasons anywhere else, as we've already talked about. Definite rare antiquity for me. I still have my issues with some of the characters. Burnham, I had a problem with in the first half of the season. She improved for me slightly in the second half. I've grown on some of the other characters, like a little bit, not a lot. Stamets, Tilly. My favorite character is still, as we talked about in the whole series so far that we've seen, was Georgiou, Lorca. They were the most interesting, Georgiou being the standout. I like Saru. Doug Jones has done a really good job portraying Saru. He is still the most interesting character for me. I'd like to see some of those other B characters on the bridge get a little bit more limelight, but I don't think that'll happen, especially with how the second season's shaping up, which is unfortunate. But overall, crew's growing on me, and it's hard to say until we get more seasons how that will compare to everyone else, because we got so much material with every other crew that it's hard to say. I'm enjoying myself so far. I think Star Trek fans should just enjoy the ride right now, give it a chance to breathe. But I am a little worried for season 2, even though I'm excited. So it's weird. If season 2 proves to be disastrous, or it's good, but the Discovery crew doesn't grow, then we're in troubled waters, right? So, but until then, I think we're in good shape.
I mean, I will agree with you on the rare antiquity. It's a good show. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's definitely has its issues. It's not perfect. And they struggled with some growing pains with changing. It's not only that they changed showrunner from Brian Fuller. So to lose that, naturally, it's just going to go in a different direction. And we've changed showrunners again.
I'll say this, though.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think Brian Fuller is not all that he's cracked up to be.
I actually agree with that, yeah.
Because it seems that he's developing a reputation for starting projects and then not being able to fill anything, and he's dropping out of a lot of other projects.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a good thing he's gone.
Totally. He's totally developed that reputation. He seems like a great guy to sort of start a series that's really creative and out there, but not a guy to continue that series. So maybe it was a good thing that he's not around. Having Kurtzman back and the circumstances on his...
I'm still not thrilled here.
Yeah. Well,
he's done okay so far.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much credit I can give him, though.
I'm not giving him any credit to this point. It seems to me he's not so much the showrunner as the overseer of the Star Trek universe at CBS, if you will. Like there's the other shows, the other items we can talk about. But I didn't like the circumstances that surrounded his return, which sounded like the bullshit of the previous showrunners.
Well, if CBS is listening to this, just hire us.
Yeah.
We've got butter chicken. We'll make it work.
We have some butter chicken and some pad thai. And yeah, man, we grew up with this shit, so we know what we're doing. Okay, so to go back, I really liked the first season of Discovery. My expectations were exceeded because with all of the behind the scenes stuff and even some of the early production photos and everything, I was like, oh man, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to be good. And it was good. It looked good. Performances were good. Like each individual episode was really good. They did a really good job. I mean, they had a problem carrying the right threads through, but overall, I really like this show and I'm really excited to see where it goes forward. I hope that, as we said, chart their own course and don't be too beholden to what's come before. I don't know about you, man. I ain't give a fuck about canon. Do the show the way it needs to be done. And if you need to massage some details here with canon, as you're already doing, fucking fucking fine. That is okay with me. Recast Spock, recast Kirk. I don't care. It's not about that, man. So do good Star Trek. It's the main thing. If
I'm
they
halfway
do
where you are. I'm not a stickler on everything, but you got to fit within the rules of the universe. I don't care if it fits within a certain episode or a plot point, but fit within the universe.
I agree with that. You have to fit within the universe. The better the Star Trekkiness about it is, the more latitude I'll give you around the rules.
It's a fair point to say.
So that's what I have to say about it. So let's just take a couple minutes if we can. I know we're over 3 hours here, but fuck it. It's Star Trek, so we'll give it a special pass. We were going to talk about some of the future of CBS All Access's Star Trek philosophy. Did you want to get into that now, or do you want to just fuck it and fuck out of here?
Maybe let's talk about a couple points. Let's not worry about CBS All Access. Maybe if you want, let's talk about the future of this.
Oh, I want to.
Future of this Kelvin universe.
Okay.
Because it's been in the forefront of the recent news.
Yeah.
And something else that I'll leave you to bring up.
All right. Why don't you take us into Kelvin universe then?
It's got big trouble.
Yep.
So I'm sure you hear that Pine is holding out for contract negotiations for Star Trek 4. But they got that Tarantino thing, which apparently is rumored to star the Kelvin cast for some odd reason. I don't know why. I'd figure Tarantino would want to do his own thing with a new cast that he would bring to the table and cast himself.
Yeah.
To me, that would make the most sense from Tarantino's perspective. I don't want any baggage from any other people. I could save money by not casting these other people who expect high salaries. I'll do my own thing, kind of like what Black Mirror did with their USS Callister thing. Do something weird and unique within Star Trek, whatever Tarantino wants to do, and go from there. The rumor has it that he still wants to use Pine, Quinto, and crew for his movies, which I think is a big mistake because it'll be jarring again. I think he should do his own thing. But Star Trek 4 seems to be in some trouble, and I didn't like the storyline that they had with the daddy issues because he's already been exploring that for 3 movies. So it was going to star Hemsworth, and then now Hemsworth and Pine are holding out for contract money because they're trying to save money because Beyond didn't make enough money. So there's studios trying to claw back on the salaries. Seems the only holdouts are Pine and Hemsworth. So I say they got to go back to the drawing board. You can't lose Pine, otherwise this thing is all dead. So Star Trek's going to be delayed. So that's the news.
Yeah, that seems to be the news, the latest. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't see any of this happening. The most likely situation here, I think that they could probably figure something out with Pine. The whole Hemsworth thing with his dad. What's the fucking point of that? Who gives a shit? Do something else. Why is that storyline so important that we got to have Chris Hemsworth in this movie? We got to have Kirk's dad in this movie to do a thing. Who gives a shit? Fuck him. He's not a draw to anybody.
Chris Hemsworth isn't even a draw in his own movies outside of Marvel.
No, he's not.
Those movies have bombed.
And even in Marvel, he's not a draw. It's the Marvel that's the draw. It's the Thor character that's a draw. And I mean, Thor Ragnarok, I enjoyed. I laughed. I had a good time. And I don't remember a goddamn thing that happened in that movie. I don't give a shit about Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's a nice guy.
I think Hemsworth has some good comedic chops. I'm not going to knock him.
Yes.
He's not a good actor, but he's got charisma. He's a handsome dude. Leave it at that.
Yeah, but
he's not.
If he's such a draw, give him the fucking money. And if you don't want to give him the money, he's not a draw. Then fuck him. Do another Star Trek movie without him. Who cares? The character's dead. Doesn't make sense.
Biggest issue here is why are we still lingering on Kirk daddy issues?
Exactly. Yeah.
If I'm studio head and I'm seeing these 3 movies, someone comes to me with a script, I'm going, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
So I got 3 movies with this character already complaining about daddy issues. Now I'm doing a daddy issue movie? Seriously?
Yeah. No.
It's done. It's finished.
Yeah.
He's gotten over it already, and this is a terrible idea. Drop it, save the money on Hemsworth, go back to the drawing board, write a new script.
Completely agree. Do a new thing. And I don't think this Tarantino thing's actually happened.
Yeah, I have doubts too.
It's not happening. How is this okay, I live in the real world. A Star Trek movie directed by Quentin Tarantino is just not happening.
I would love to see it.
I'd love
just
to see
for something different.
Not happening. That's a mirror universe happening, not a prime universe happening, right? This is not happening. There's no way.
But I want it to happen.
I want it to happen too, but I don't know what it looks like. Here's the thing.
See, Tarantino grew up on original Trek.
Yeah.
He loved that original Trek.
What the fuck is he going to do? I mean, is he going to use Pine and Quinto, or is he not?
I say you should use 80-year-old Shatner.
But that's not. But he's not going to.
No, but that's what I think.
No, but he won't.
I'm telling you right now, I've got an apple in my hand and I'm about to take a bite. There you go. A Tarantino movie I care about the characters and the dialogue and what's happened.
How the fuck does this movie even happen, dude? It just doesn't fit for me. I mean, I'll go watch it.
Hey, man, my dream is Tarantino's directing William Shatner and Nicolas Cage is the villain. I don't know.
Nicolas Cage playing?
Cage gets a lifetime pass for anything for me, man. So there you go.
I wish they could get their fucking shit together. Make a Star Trek 4.
To me, the best thing to do is let this thing die. It's not strong as it is anyways.
But it's just not gonna. It's just not gonna happen.
No, but they should.
It's not gonna happen though.
The problem here is the fans are divided anyways.
Fuck the fans. The fans don't know shit.
I'm saying let it die. We got TV back. There's probably going to be other Trek projects, according to rumors. Discovery won't be the only thing Trek on TV. I got what I wanted. Let this thing die. And I'm getting something else back, which I'm looking forward to, but scared. Let's just move on. I think Trek 4 is dead.
I think it's dead.
Let it die.
I think Trek 4 is dead, and I think the Tarantino project's never going to happen.
I will go glass half full optimism, and I'll say Tarantino thing will happen. So.
You're never glass half full, so that carries some weight.
Yeah, so there you go.
It's the weight of a glass half full of water, but it's still a weight. So let's wrap it up with going forward with Trek on TV. And I don't know, man, this is the big one. Patrick Stewart is coming back, baby. This is not a rumor. This is not conjecture. This is an official thing. Patrick Stewart's coming back as Jean-Luc Picard. We're going to get a Star Trek series on CBS All Access featuring him, and that's really all we know right now. So what are your initial thoughts on that?
I want to talk like 3 hours on just this topic.
I know, man. Me too. Fuck.
But we don't have the time, which is sad. This is a dream come true for me. But considering all franchises that have come back from the grave with the characters that are beloved, I'm scared shitless at the same time.
Okay, why?
I just don't know if they'll treat the character with the respect and the reverence that he deserves.
All right, I disagree, but continue.
No, it's just when you bring all of these characters back, I've just been let down. So now we're going to bring a Picard back. Patrick Stewart, I saw that kind of Comic-Con or whatever Star Trek Expo that he showed up on. He wants to now, from an actor's perspective and Patrick Stewart's perspective, he wants to do something different too. The last thing I don't want to see a no glimpse of the Picard I know. Even though if he comes around at the end and he's the Picard that we love and know, I have no interest in seeing the Picard I don't know. Let him evolve naturally. He's an older guy. I'm just scared that they're going to do something so radical for the sake of being radical and different that he'll be unrecognizable. And I don't know if I want to see that. But at the same time, character has to progress and he has to be different. Time has passed. Who knows where we'll see him at? Is he going to be part of Starfleet? He's going to be retired on the Vineyard. He's going to be drawn back into some kind of political conflict because he's not going to be an action man at his age. We want to see those Starfleet morals there. What's different this time to lure Patrick Stewart back? Maybe he came back for the paycheck and he'll do the Picard we love, which is good and also bad because then people will say, well, I'm scratching my head. What's different here? I'm getting the same old Picard. But then you go the Luke Skywalker way that Rian Johnson does, and I'm radically different. And I come back for a tease at the end of the miniseries, which is what I'm assuming this is going to be as a miniseries. But I got 8 episodes of him being like this guy that's unrecognizable and I don't admire, comes back for 20 minutes and it's the guy I admire. What does that mean to me, right? I don't know. I'm just saying I'm scared. As I said, the recent experiences that I've had with other fictional characters that have come back to the screen after a long absence, I'm just saying I'm a little worried.
So you're saying you don't really know what you want to see. You want to see the old Picard, but you want to see the same old thing.
No, as I've told you before, is you got to find that fine middle ground.
But why do you want middle ground? Middle ground's easy.
No, middle ground isn't easy. No, this I disagree with. We don't have 3 hours to go through this. Middle ground is not easy. You think it's easy. It's not easy.
Well, I know it's easy.
No, you need to find that balance. And if you don't find that balance, it doesn't work.
Why do you think he came back?
I think Patrick Stewart came back for a paycheck.
I disagree.
Well, if you want my honest opinion.
No, I don't think so. He doesn't need it.
I think CBS, from what I know, the rumor has it that the numbers on All Access isn't as strong as they were anticipating. They're having problems with this Kelvin universe stuff that's going on. Box office isn't great. What are they doing to keep Star Trek going? They went right back to the source and they're saying TNG, but we're not doing a TNG revival, so we're just going to get Patrick Stewart.
I think you're right. I mean, CBS's motivation obviously is dollars. They want the all-access subscription. No question. So here's how I interpreted the timeline. So when the news broke, when the rumors broke, was like Patrick Stewart is in discussion. They wanted him to come back and do a Picard show. But by the time those rumors leaked, they broke down. He didn't agree. Nothing happened.
Yeah, because the money.
And then it came back
more
later.
Money.
No, it
because the
money.
original, you know, because
No,
the original thing was there was another podcast that I know you listen to, and these guys are in Hollywood. They know what they're talking about. They are saying he was demanding $1 million an episode.
Yeah, there was something else. It wasn't just the money. He doesn't need the money.
The lavish lifestyle, money is money.
The guy's 80 years old.
I'm telling you right now, but going another segue, we're way past the time we need to be talking about all
that's
this
true.
stuff. But one of the most fascinating articles I read last week was about Johnny Depp. And this guy is like broke. You won't believe. But his lifestyle is, but I'm telling you.
I know that money's always a factor, but I think that, here's what I think. I hear what you're saying. I think the money was the sticking point, and CBS had to cave on the money. He wants the money. There's no question. Like, he needs to be paid for his work, but he's also a very politically and socially conscious guy. When he speaks out politically, socially, there's a thing there. And I believe that the money was a factor, but there was a point where this is a show we can use to talk about the horse shit that planet Earth is in right now. Star Trek's a perfect venue for that. I'm going to do it for that. He's not just coming back because they're going to throw money at him. He's coming back because they can tell some stories that are going to be relevant to the fucked up horse shit that the world is embroiled in right now. And I know that he is very much concerned about the state of affairs right now. And I think he wants to use this to tell that story. And so towards the end of the 24th century, we're going to the 25th century in this show, and there's going to be some stuff that's going to be very anti-Star Trek, anti-Federation, Starfleet ideals. And I think that's what this show's going to be. What else could it be? He's just not going to be some captain of some ship doing some regular Star Trek shit. This is going to be some serious shit. Otherwise, he wouldn't even entertain this. What does he need to fucking care? He can take any project he wants for a bunch of money that people will pay him. It's not the money. He's doing theater projects. They don't pay goddamn anything. He doesn't give a shit about that.
But he does the Emoji Movie.
Do you know how much money voice actors make? Doesn't matter who you are. They don't make anything.
If you're telling me that's his goal for this project,
that's his goal for this project. And I've heard him in interviews and the documentaries. This role to him
I hope
something.
you're right. I hope you're right, but I'm telling you that's not his driver.
But you know that it's not just going to be some show where he's on some spaceship doing shit with Geordi in the engineering room. That's not going to be this show. It's going to be something totally, it's not going to be that. They're going to do something else. Whether that goes off without a hitch or not, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
I want him to be Picard. I don't want him to be some shriveled old shadow of his former self. I'm not saying the character cannot grow. Be who we need you to be. So we are inspired by you.
That's what I'm saying. That's the point. That's what he's going to be. He's not going to be some shriveled old man. He's done that. He did that in Logan.
You're taking my words a little too literally. I'm not saying the guy's going to be in a wheelchair or a floating wheelchair in the Star Trek universe with the syndrome.
The Captain Pike.
Yeah. Oh, that was the first episode. I'd laugh pretty hard.
His face is all fucked up and shit.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of beeps. It's like
beep, beep, make it so. Make it so.
No, I need Picard to be Picard. Just modern filmmaking. They're trying to be too artistic for the sake of being artistic.
God forbid they be artistic. What does that even mean?
I think the world needs, and what I need is someone who admires a lot of these fictional characters who has inspired me to grow as a human being or inspire me to continue to grow as a human being, as a role model. I want those role models to still be prevalent, whether it's these characters or other characters or whatever it may be. I use these as inspiration. And if they're not inspiring characters, I have a problem with that.
Well, he's coming back as a producer. He wants to be able to have control over the show.
The thing is, in Hollywood, though, producer just gives you creative control.
No, that's the executive producer. They don't give a fuck. He's the producer. He's going to be a producer on the show.
No, he ain't writing shit.
He's not writing anything, but he has creative creative direction of the show.
Yeah, he's probably just there to say, I'm the forefront of the show.
Yeah,
which
but
is obvious.
But he doesn't want to do the regular garbage. That's not what he wants to do at this point. He's not coming back to Star Trek for the regular old garbage.
There's a lot of vanity in Hollywood. Patrick Stewart is not exempt from that. I'm sorry to say. He is just like any other celebrity out there. You know, I've seen him in other interviews. I've seen him treat other people in good ways and in bad ways. So I'm not going to go into detail on that, but he's just like any other celebrity. So he's doing what he's doing to protect himself. I hope that you're right, but that's why I'm scared.
This is his legacy. He knows that this is his legacy. He knows that he's only going to be known for. He's a socially conscious and active guy. He knows that this is the thing that he's going to be remembered. This is it for him, right? This is the last big thing that he's ever going to do, ever in his life.
I hope to fucking God you're right. And I hope we get something so worthwhile that it'll make me weep a million tears in joy watching him back on screen. Because that's what I want. And if I get that experience, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. Because I need that. Honestly, I need more than anything.
Here's the thing, man. These are dark fucking times. And this is one of those things, man, that, I don't know, I think this is one of those things that can help us get out of that, see light in dark times. So,
well, as I told you before, I needed that in Luke Skywalker. I didn't get that back.
Yeah, but I think you're wrong about that.
I need that in Picard. I don't get that. I'm going to be in even worse shape. Fuck.
If such a thing is even possible, right? Fuck.
This podcast will be over. I won't be alive.
Well, we'll get by without you.
Yeah, I know you will. So.
We'll just recast you.
Yeah, that's all right.
We'll get Anson Mount and or Zachary Quinto.
Yeah, I was just going to say Zachary Quinto. Just go for Quinto.
All right, well, I guess this is probably a good spot to wrap it up. So that was our very tight and concise wrap-up of Star Trek Discovery. Any final thoughts that you want to roll in there?
We're long in the tooth as it is here. Enjoying what I'm seeing so far. There's been improvements and some negatives in the second half of the season. Future of Star Trek is looking promising and not promising at the same time. It's in a weird dynamic situation right now.
And I think I'm on generally the same page there. It's nice that Star Trek came back to the small screen where it fits better. I think the future is promising. Obviously, we've got some different series in the works and the Discovery looks good. So yeah, I think it's going to look good, man. So next time on a podcast of Rare Antiquities, we'll go into the 2008, so 10 years back, the 2008 film, Pontypool.
What the fuck? Pontypool?
Yeah, I believe it is a Canadian production. At least it takes place in Canada.
Okay.
2008? Yeah. I've never seen it, but I've heard some interesting things about it. I think it'll fit good. I'm not going to say anything more about it, so just go watch it. If you have Amazon Prime, it is on Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, I don't know what the fuck you're going to do. I don't know what to expect, to be 100% honest with you. Pontypool. P-O-N-T-Y. Ponty. P-O-N-T-Y. Pool. P-O-O-L. One word. Pontypool.
It's the first time we've had to spell the name of the movie on the podcast, so...
And I figured I was going to have to, so, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Another Canadian production, so...
Yeah, me too, I guess.
Go Canada. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Geoff.
Yeah, man. It's been a good time, and it's nice to do one of these marathon episodes. And, yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Cheers.